The Air Conservation Commission meeting is Thursday, September 26, 2019. Confirmation of agenda. Do we have any changes?
We have one change. The request for determination for the Delcors will be next meeting.
All right. Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting minutes?
Yeah. They're close. They're very close.
Aye.
8:22. Good eyes.
Any changes, comments, corrections?
Accolades. We could give accolades.
Thumbs up.
Motion to approve the minutes as written.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any announcements?
One announcement, it should be right behind your agenda, that the MACC conference is coming up. And it's in Devens, which is awfully close, which is very nice. And they're accepting registration.
Any accounts payable?
No.
All right. So, first item is a continued public hearing for notice of intent. John Carroll Reserve, 456 Wilton Road.
Good evening.
Good
evening.
Nick Pauling from GPR. Haven't seen you guys in a while. I couldn't believe it when I looked through my notes, but it was the middle of July last time we were before you. July 11th, yeah. Since then, we just had a couple of missed timings on things, canceled meetings. I don't hold that against you. So there's been some things that have happened since the last time we saw you. Since July 11th, as you know, the peer review has been decided. Letters came out. So the 25th, they hadn't been decided at your meeting. The next meeting was August 8th. A site walk was set up for the following Monday, so we continued that meeting. The 22nd peer review letter hadn't come out yet. Peer review came out on the 23rd. You guys didn't have a meeting last time, so that's how the 2.5 months gets here.
Right.
So since then, we've had the...
Before you go,
Yes, sir.
we want to hear from our consultant first. Bring us up to date on what his report is. Is he here?
He's here. He's right there. Chase.
Come on down.
Yeah.
Then we'll get to the future.
So Chase Bernier, this is the rest of the Conservation Commission.
How you doing? Good. Just for those of you who don't know, I'm Chase Brown, I'm project manager and senior ecologist with VSC Group. We just heard, yes, we did a site walk in early August. We reviewed all the documents that we've been presented at that time. We issued our peer review letter on August 23rd. I understand that there's some supplemental documents that have been submitted kind of after that, but this letter is just going to, basically we're going to address the things that were submitted to us, and we're not going to really go into that because we haven't reviewed those yet. So it depends on how you guys would like to go through it. We can go through it.
What haven't you reviewed yet?
Any of the supplemental, any of the updated plans or anything like that were issued to the or that were submitted to the commission after we had submitted our peer review letter.
Okay, and how many items was that?
See that? See the that?
Yep. All of this.
Yeah, to be clear, some of that is like the stormwater stuff and whatever was completed kind of in a separate peer review by our engineer. I do believe that has been reviewed. So this is more along the lines with the wetlands, wildlife.
Okay, okay. I
bugs
just
and
wanted to be
muddies.
clear about,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
okay, thank
so-
you.
Yeah, this is on the initial application,
The initial NOI?
the initial NOI and the initial plan.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
We're just reading of the minutes and stuff that had come through prior to that. So we're taking that into consideration.
So the review is actually the initial NOI along with the first revised, which I think leads to a couple of the comments kind of in the letter.
Okay. So it depends how you'd like to go through this. We can go with comment by comment. Might be a little extensive. I think there's 30 something. Not all of those are necessarily Conservation Commission related, because we were contracted both through the Planning Board and the Conservation Commission, so there's a little bit of overlap there. I understand it's kind of doing their own concurrent review.
So just conservation issues.
Just the conservation issues, okay. Gonna have to pick and choose. Have you guys had a chance to look at this yet, or is this kind of all new information to you?
We received it.
Okay.
I don't know if we're all looking at it.
I apologize, I haven't had a chance to look at it.
Shoot 'em at it. All right. Yeah, so first and foremost, after reviewing the wetland line, we relocated one flag along that line. And as a result of that, obviously, any plans associated that show the resource areas will need to be updated and whatnot. I'm sure they have been. I haven't reviewed those plans. But it's one flag, so it's not like we're completely redoing an entire wetland system here. Just some other kind of housekeeping type things as far as the site plans. The legends that are on the plans, it's more of a standard legend. There's things on there that are either not included on the plans themselves or are included on the plans and not on the legend, so stuff like that. So things like, there's a couple things like shoreline, there's no shore on the project, so if we're going to show those things, then you kind of need to speak to those, how the project complies with the regulatory aspects of that and whatnot. The Town of Ayer checklist requires that the 25-foot and 100-foot buffer zone boundary lines to be shown on the plans. I believe the plans that we reviewed didn't have that. I think those have been revised, and I haven't reviewed those yet. Currently, the plans propose a combination of silt fence and straw wattles, or just straw wattles. Kind of as a best management practice, we typically recommend the use of compost filter tubes. There's less soil disturbance with the silt fence. They're more effective than straw wattles. So if they get left out there, which controls get left out on sites all the time, if they're natural fiber, they just kind of rot away on their own. Less wildlife entanglement hazards, that sort of thing. The site plan block is currently, as it's shown, doesn't quite meet the town's NOI checklist requirements. Again, it's more of a nitpicky item, but if the commission feels that that's something that they would really like to see just for conformity with the checklist, that's certainly something that you guys can require. Let's see. Just skipping to comment 7. We recommend the applicant provide a breakdown of how the open space was calculated. In the narrative, there wasn't any kind of discussion of, did that include, the stormwater features, constructed features, so on and so forth. So that should really be explained a little bit in further detail, just so we kind of have a better idea of what is going to be included in this open space. Talk about trees for a second. We recommend that the applicant provide a discussion of how trees were selected for protection and removal, and why only some of those trees were shown on the plans. I believe right now it kind of appears that the trees that are currently shown are the ones that are within the existing landscaped lots of the houses, but it doesn't provide any kind of a tree protection plan or discussion of any of the larger trees that are in the bigger area that is proposed to be developed. So we recommend the applicant describe, are any of those trees proposed to be saved or not, and as well as develop a tree protection plan. Let's see. Comment 9, the NOI plan checklist says that the scale should be no greater than 1 inch to 40 feet. Currently, sheet C 3.1 is at 1 inch to 50 feet. So that should be corrected. And so comment 10 on sheet 4.1, the plans currently didn't show the proposed drainage basin, the attenuation basin up top, and that larger wet basin on bottom, but that area in between wasn't shown on the plan. So those should be revised to depict those as well. Comment 11 on sheet 6.1, it references that Ayer, it currently references an Acton ladder truck. That should be updated obviously to Ayer. Sheet 7.1, comment 12. We recommend that the site plans be revised to show that sediment erosion controls effectively surround the proposed limit of work. Moving on to the NOI application, specifically Form 3. We recommend that the applicant revise that form as well as the notice of abutters to correctly list the project's street addresses. I believe right now it just says 54 and 56 Littleton Road. There seems to be some disconnect or a mix-up as far as exactly what lots. It kind of ranges from, I think it goes up to some references 60 and 64 depending on which plan it is. I think the narrative references some other things, so that should be clarified. In section 8.2, the contact information for the applicant isn't provided, so we recommend that the form be updated to include that. And similarly, going back to the addresses, again, 60 Littleton Road on the Ayer assessor site is listed as Michael and Emily de Blasio. So if they are the owners and not the current applicant, the form should be revised to effectively reflect that, and that it would also require that the landowner signature be provided for that parcel as well. Comment 16 deals with which category that the project was being proposed under. It was proposed under a category 2A single-family house. We understand that the DEP has recommended that they file under a category 3A, site preparation for development. We also agree that would be the more appropriate category to file under. Moving on to this comment 17, section A, section A 7A. The form has the project identified as both single-family home and residential subdivision. We recommend that the form be updated so that only the residential subdivision box is checked and not the single-family home. Comment 18 deals with the book and page for the deed referenced for 64 Littleton Road. It's currently referenced, the Ayer assessor site lists the book and page as something else. And the deed for 56 Littleton Road, when looking at it, it doesn't appear that the applicant is the owner of the land. So we recommend that the applicant provide documentation that the provided books and page are correct, and that they are an owner of that land. Comment 19, section D3 references applicants listed that they provided information identifying the methodology used for the resource area, such as BVW forms and ORAD and such. We were unable to locate any BVW forms in the NOI application or any of the documents that we were presented. So we recommend that the applicant provide those BVW forms as well as typically a narrative of how the project what methodology was used. Comment 20, it appears as though a representative of GPR has signed Section F of the form as an agent of the applicant owner. This was a tricky one. You couldn't find anywhere specifically that says, what the particular method or the way to go about this was. So we contacted the Mass DEP Central Region Circuit Rider, and in short, they said that DEP defers to the commissions of whether or not they require the actual applicant or landowner signatures, and not just the representative or an agent thereof. So we recommend that the commission decide whether they are comfortable with accepting, basically an affidavit saying that, someone can act as an agent of the landowner and property owner, or if you would like the form signed by the applicant / landowner themselves. Okay, moving on to the narrative of the NOI. Again, dealing with open space, it currently says it will preserve 56% of the open space. We recommend that them confirm how much of the project area is open space included, broken out as far as, how much is stormwater and how much is undeveloped land and that type of thing. Comment 22 deals with the conservation restriction. As we currently understand it, a conservation easement or a deed restriction is required for the open space, but an instrument has not yet been developed. Long story short, based on the regulations and whatnot that are in place, stormwater management basins and features and whatnot aren't eligible for a conservation easement. They can be protected under other instruments, but as far as an actual conservation easement, it's just not allowed. Moving on to comment 23, the narrative does not describe on-site existing conditions, either wetlands or the uplands. Additionally, it doesn't discuss any kind of proposed impacts to buffer zones, why it needs to be so close to the adjacent BVW. So we recommend that the applicant revise the narrative to include an accurate, detailed discussion of proposed impacts to the buffer zone, and to break those down into the inner 25 feet, the inner 50 feet, and the outer 50 feet. Then comment 24 of the narrative deals with the proposed stormwater management areas. A portion of that stormwater management feature is located within the 100-foot buffer zone. So we recommend the applicant provide a detailed discussion of those proposed areas, including how they're going to be constructed, what is the planned vegetation, anticipated maintenance requirements, so on and so forth. Comment 25 deals with the performance standards. So, we couldn't identify anywhere in the narrative where the performance standards for either the Wetlands Protection Act or the Ayer bylaw were discussed. So we recommend that the applicant provide a discussion of how the project specifically meets those performance standards for both the WPA and the bylaw. Comment 26 deals with construction sequencing. It doesn't appear that the project will be sequenced in any sort of manner. But we recommend that the construction sequencing planned, construction sequencing be planned in order to minimize the area of exposed soil at any one particular time during the construction period. Comment 27, again, the narrative references the Acton Wetland Protection Bylaw. So the applicant should revise the narrative to ensure that the requirements of the Ayer Wetlands Protection Bylaw are being met. Moving on to the wetlands flagging map. So the Ayer NOI checklist requires that all of the resource areas within 200 feet of proposed work be depicted. And it demonstrates that all the wetland resources within the parcel have been depicted. However, there is an estimated wetland to, I believe, the west that seems to have just been drawn in. So depending on the accuracy of that BVW's, either limits, there may be some 100-foot buffer zone that, encroaches onto the site. So we recommend that the applicant provide a discussion of how the limits of that second BVW, which is off-site, were determined, whether that's, estimation or whatnot. Let's see, so we're gonna kind of, speaking of the site plan review, I know that's a planning board requirement or issue. The only thing I would add to that is that currently there's no landscape, or in the documents that we reviewed, we couldn't find a detailed landscaping plan as part of that. And given that, the stormwater features are going to be located within a portion of the buffer zone, we recommend that a detailed landscaping plan identifying what species at, what amount or whatever should be included. Lastly, I think there's a conservation analysis. I'm not sure if you want to go over that a little bit. There's only a couple comments, but sure. Okay, why not, right? So the conservation analysis under the important wildlife habitat section provides a general description of what species may utilize the site, and also states that the adjacent fence that borders the property can prohibit most wildlife migration. We recommend that the applicant provide a greater detail on the habitat functions and values of the site as opposed to what species were located there. Things like forage, nesting and breeding behavior, overwintering, hibernation areas, stuff like that. And other similar characteristics that contribute to habitat quality and conservation priority of available habitat in order to adequately meet the requirements of the OSRD regulations at section 10.1.3.a. And lastly on that topic, the analysis provides basically a ranking system of either from high, medium, or low. We recommend that the applicant provide a discussion of what metrics were used to develop that ranking, and how did they determine what constitutes a high, medium, low conservation priority on the site. And that is it in a nutshell.
Any questions from the commission?
It's very still in here. I know. Oh, good, we have a fan. Is it just on you?
I think there's a little pin on the top behind the blades that you can pull up to make it oscillate. There we go.
Don't want to overload the generator.
That's right.
Whoosh.
Okay. So, and GPR has had a chance to review and address at least some of these.
Oh,
Okay.
so that letter was dated on the 23rd. On September 5th, we actually provided a response letter not only to that, but also to the stormwater review, the town planners, site plan application review, Department of Public Works. It's a 14-page document that included everything that Chase just read, along with our responses.
August 28th, it's dated, right? So I made sure we got the right one.
Fair enough, that's correct. We also revised the plans to address a number of those issues as we outlined in our responses to that letter. Some of the changes that have been made specifically deal with the attenuation area. As you remember, there was an attenuation area and that collected surface runoff from neighboring properties.
Right there.
That's the one right there. That was revised, that was the original. That was revised, was reduced, one of the lots was removed from 20 to 19, as you're looking at it there. And then what also happened is, under the peer review, we realized that there was a lot of action for little benefit with the attenuation area as it was moved. So on the final revised plans, we've actually removed it, extended a drainage swale up about 15 feet to collect the most water coming down, to come down and get into the infiltration basin. This infiltration basin was revised and enlarged from the plan you're looking at on your screen. From the first revision, the second revision, the limits are exactly the same, but the control structure has been modified to attenuate the 2 and 10 and analyze the 100-year vent. The final numbers for the open space parcel has it just over 55, I believe it's 55.4%. The closest encroachment to the wetland line, even as revised, of wetland flag number 12. The final revised plans has the updated flag location. We've also provided the former location, just for reference. The new flag has been...
So is that,
no, because you're still looking at the original
I
plan.
know,
So up there, if you go...
it is kind of there.
Nope, to the right, that one. That flag got moved forward. We field located that by triangulating between the 2 adjacent flags as well as from the original. That flag has been changed to flag number 6R for revised. 6 has been left on the plan just as a reference, again, with the buffers, associated buffer zone revised. A number of other items.
So what's the closest encroachment to the,
Closest encroachment is actually 65 feet. It's from the drainage swale relative to wetland flag number 12, which is actually at the tip. Right here to the drainage swale. This is wetland flag 12 here. On average after that, most distance is about 72 feet as it encroaches within the buffer zone. Other plans and things that have been revised, as we're looking at the original plan had a super elevated road, so all drainage would flow in the, as we're looking at it, eastern gutter line coming down into the cul-de-sac. Had one catch basin about 300 feet away from the intersection, and then another in the cul-de-sac, as well as a landscape island within the cul-de-sac itself. That landscape island was removed, and that entire cul-de-sac is now pavement. The road has also been crowned, so an additional catch basin has been added, as runoff will flow in 2 gutter lines. Again, just because we're staring at the original plan, you'll notice to the right, Joanne, if you move your hand to the right, just to the bottom of the attenuation area, you'll notice 2 houses. On the final plan, on paper to my right, you'll notice that the bottom of those 2 houses has been removed. That's the house that has been removed, or the lot that has been removed. So
This one?
yes, so the final layout of the subdivision has 19 lots.
is that empty lot plan for open space as well?
No, it actually got joined to the lot to the left of the arrow on the screen. So that lot is now a double lot.
So that's somebody's backyard?
Yes. Someone's backyard and front yard, side yard.
Yeah, side yard with the
A couple other things that were added. Sidewalk was added to the western side of the development, continuing all the way around the cul-de-sac. Also, more street trees were added. We originally requested a waiver that was denied for the reduction in street trees, so only placing them on one side.
Can you remind me where's south? Or where's south on the map?
On the bottom.
Sort of down, there's the north arrow.
Oh,
Yeah.
there it is, okay.
Yeah.
All right, south is the bottom, okay. Okay.
So there's a number of comments that Chase brought up. I can certainly get any highlights of any one that the board finds specific. We will say that the planning board took action on Tuesday to vote and approve the subdivision as laid out to my right, as well as the site plan application.
Pending,
There was 4 outstanding items. The decision on who will hold the open space and the CR needs to be provided in accordance with the Ayer zoning section 10. The removal of the attenuation area and sending everything to the infiltration but not increasing its limits. The 100-year event increases post-development discharge rates, so there's a discussion and proof of flooding impacts down gradient. That's something that we'll be discussing with the DPW, Mr. Wetzel, and the town engineer. I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name because I say it wrong every time. The other 2 items was the, I believe, planning board chair said the decoupling of the Conservation Commission references in the planning board approval, and the fourth was the not the covenant, but the DPW has agreed to accept the roadway as well as the stormwater infrastructure, the infiltration basin and the sediment forebay, and at time of acceptance, an escrow account for a determined number of years, somewhere between 5 to 10, will be set up to cover the costs, the initial costs for that period of time, to help the DPW as the tax base gets developed and the budget is accounted for. So that brings us to tonight, to talk about the notice of intent for the work within the buffer zone, which is actually less than what's shown on the plan behind you now with the attenuation area removed. And you'll notice the bubble of the infiltration basin to the top left is actually smaller than the limits to the plan to my right. Any other questions or highlights you'd like me to hit upon?
So, can you just educate me again back to the basin, like you
Yes,
just
sir.
mentioned, so don't fully understand it, want to understand it better. So now you just have a single basin?
No, we still have 2
Deeper?
basins. So,
Well, or in relation to what you had there, you had one up at the upper left, and you had one sort of in the center. Now you no longer have a center one, correct? Or
so no, we still have, so there we had 3 bubbles. So Joanne is pointing out what we call the attenuation area.
okay,
That has been removed. The second bubble is the sediment forebay,
yep,
and the third is an infiltration basin.
okay,
The attenuation area to the right has been removed.
okay,
That's this area that will be remained trees within the open space. The sediment forebay has been elongated
okay,
with the swale coming back to take the runoff prior to getting into the wetlands from the developed lot areas.
okay.
And then you still have an infiltration basin.
So the original attenuation basin up in the sort of the center of the development, I remember the discussion around, that was expected to take a lot of the runoff from the backyard to the properties and such. Now we anticipate what it's gonna go into the swale that you're now creating?
So the only reason, or again, for the attenuation area was exactly correct, the backyards of the abutting properties. We needed to attenuate that flow, getting to our analysis point.
Okay,
What we were able to do with making changes and modifications to the infiltration basin, as well as extending the swale 15 feet from the first revision, is capture enough of that contributing area where we can now let this freely discharge as it does today to the wetland in the analysis point.
okay. And then, like you said, by extending the original second one, right, kind of the middle one, that also helps out then too. Yeah.
Well, this one here is a sediment forebay. This is the initial inlet to the infiltration basin. This is where it's a open settling area for any sediment that isn't captured by the deep sump-coated catch basins.
Okay.
That area is needed to be sized based on the contributing impervious areas. So when we start to take a drainage swale and include the houses and those driveways, that needs to be sized or increased in size accordingly.
Okay. And then you said something about the road no longer being, what do you call it, extremely high, something like that.
Super elevated. Typically a road is crown.
Right.
So you haven't got a line on both sides.
Yep.
Originally proposed, we super elevated it. So not being crowned, we actually took the crown and moved it to one side so everything would flow to the opposite side.
Okay. And then I know we talked about the sewage for the homes. Did that change any of their needing the crusher pump and all that stuff?
It's still a low pressure system design. Sewer flow for the project is down one house. So it's still about the same.
Okay.
So Nick, with
Yep.
respect to BSC comment 10, the current site layout and utilities plan does not accurately depict the proposed drainage channel included as part of the stormwater management features behind this proposed subdivision to the east between the infiltration basin and the attenuation area. And BSC recommends that the site plans be revised to show the proposed drainage basin. Is that the drainage basin?
Yeah,
So can you, what is the proposed, what was revised? Is that what was revised?
so on the site layout and utilities plan, you're looking at this plan. What we are looking at is we're trying to still identify the stormwater management areas, but more as a placeholder of acknowledgement that they're there. It's not wooded or anything like that. So you're looking at bubbles right now,
Okay,
saying wet basin, sediment forebay, infiltration. I believe the comment was, there's a drainage swale that's not shown here.
I see,
We
okay,
wanna-
all
we
right,
wanna
so you want to
depict
show it on the plan?
Correct, so the final version has been provided on that site layout.
Okay, so that has been checked off?
Yes.
Okay.
Anything else from the commission?
I have a question about the swale. And it's a question for you, Chase. And how that proposed swale might affect the wetland down gradient of it.
Yeah, depending on how close you are, the general answer is that any work within the inner 500 feet of the buffer zone, so from the inner 500 feet of the buffer zone, so from the wetland line out to 50 feet, any kind of disturbance that would alter the physical, chemical, or biological functions, so removing trees, grading, so on and so forth, what have you, is going to result in an adverse impact to the resource area. That doesn't take into consideration any kind of mitigation that maybe would be proposed. So if that drainage swale is outside of that 50 feet, it's not as much of a concern. So I hope, does that kind of answer your question?
Partially, and if I ask a better question, I'll probably get a more complete answer. So I'm seeing our wetland resource area at the bottom of this gentle slope down from 2A, and now we're catching water coming off the road, water coming off driveways, but also water coming off backyards that's no longer going to make its way down.
So I'm not an engineer.
Right.
So I'm going to take their word and say, what are the calculations that they ran through their simulation, whatever, are correct.
Okay.
That being said, if for whatever reason the resource area was affected, say for whatever reason they forgot to carry the water or something like that, and then you just see this huge plume of sediment or whatever like that, then everything that causes that impact, even if it's outside the buffer zone, then becomes jurisdictional. It's kind of a bit of a PETA, because then that's kind of another whole process. But that's how you kind of have to deal with that. You
Okay.
can't regulate outside
Right.
of the jurisdictional areas
Right.
now. But if say for whatever reason, all that grading happens and then you get a storm and then the sediment flows in and there's a problem, then all that becomes jurisdictional and whatnot. So.
All right, good, thank you.
Anything else from the commission?
What about the is it tree protection plan? Has that been revised in the application?
As part of the site plan application, the site plan
Is it in
application
the
has
site
been
plan?
closed.
Has been closed?
Yes, closed and approved.
So Chase was able to look at the initial plan and the notice of intent and make his comments. We have a revised plan here that he cannot comment on unless we initiate a change order in our peer review contract, which I had him go ahead and make a proposal that's in your packet. If you want him to review the plan as it has been revised by GPR.
And respond to the response letter and whatnot as well.
Right.
Before we do that, is there any public comment? Anybody wish to speak on this? Okay. All right.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Cal Wilson from GPR. The only comment I'd make to that is that Chase's firm has had that plan, has reviewed that engineered plan, and commented on it, and the planning board responded back, and they had it back and forth until the planning board was satisfied with what changed on that plan. So as far as the stormwater goes, as far as the layout of the subdivision itself, that has been reviewed and has been commented on by BSC. So I just wanted to make that.
For the engineering, but not for the wetlands.
Not for wetlands, for the engineering.
But on this plan here?
On that plan.
Okay.
And I'm not sure that what changes on this plan are going to have a tremendous effect on the wetlands themselves from what was on the previous plan.
Could you just say a little bit more? You mentioned one of the conditions the planning board has pending has to do with something about the 100-year storm impact.
Sure. So the Wetlands Protection Act and the Stormwater Handbook requires us to attenuate the 2 and 10, which means that the post-development peak rates have to be less than or equal than pre-development rates. We also have to analyze the 100-year event. The 100-year event, if the post-development shows that there's an increase over pre-development conditions, we have to analyze potential flooding impacts. That is something that when we remove the infiltration basin area, or the attenuation area, excuse me, and sent everything to the enlarged infiltration basin area, we could meet the requirement of the 2 and 10 pre versus post peak rate. The 100-year event has an increased peak rate runoff of 3 CFS. I believe it goes from 20, goes from 20, just under 23 to just under 26. So at that point, you have to analyze and discuss any potential impacts to flooding. That is something that the planning board has directed us to talk with the DPW about.
Then what about discussion around the CR? Is that, I mean, how do we proceed with that?
Is that our purview or?
It's in the hands of the planning board, and I think they're going to find it really challenging to find somebody to hold that CR. I've recommended that it not be the Conservation Commission. I've asked North County Land Trust if they would hold it. They said no.
Why did they say no?
They said no because of the number of backyards contributing to encroachment. It would be very difficult to monitor and steward. And there's no public access to it except over an easement that's in somebody's driveway.
Okay.
So have you guys made any headway on who would hold the,
That's something that we're gonna be talking with, continued conversations with the town about. That's something that needs to be in place prior to plan endorsement.
The CR or the agreement on the CR?
Both. Right now, we're requesting that the town take it. There's no process within the zoning right now for that to say no. The planning board didn't make a decision. They feel it's a little bit above their pay grade. It's ultimately the selectmen's decision. It's similar to a roadway. The planning board can support it or they can deny it. It's ultimately up to the selectmen. So that's kind of an example of we're the first ones through the door under this OSRD regulation. So we've already been beaten up, and we know there's some more bumps that we're going to have to figure out as we go forward.
So you actually have to have the CR executed?
Correct.
do you know how long that takes?
Yes.
How long does that take?
A little while.
Like a year? They're
You also understand that this is taking quite a long time as well, and we're not going to execute a CR that we don't have approval of the subdivision on. So, but there is no time frame for plan endorsement.
right.
So we understand we're still pushing the rope uphill.
Good
Best
luck
way to
with
put
that.
that.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice that the town made it the by right development. That, these open-ended questions and the delay of time.
Okay. So, how do we want to proceed?
Did we resolve comment, BSC comment 16 on the filing category?
Yes,
That's been resolved?
that's been resolved. Yep. And a check has been issued.
Okay.
Is that the 3A filing? 3A as
Yeah.
opposed to 2A?
Yes.
Okay.
So it was filed under 3A.
Eventually. Begrudgingly, I believe is my word.
I believe that was your word.
I can certainly provide any additional answers. I know you only read the BSC, not our responses.
No,
So if there's any others,
they've read this.
they have.
Well, they've received this. I trust they've read it.
This is the first time I've seen you smile like that.
Okay, so, how do we want to proceed? We can act tonight, we can continue and have BSC do another review. We can continue and just review it ourselves. Discussion?
I would feel comfortable reviewing, having some time to review it myself.
Do you want to have BSC review too?
Mr. Chairman, could I ask
Yes.
a question? What exactly, maybe Chase can answer, what exactly would BSC be reviewing that has changed so much from the previous plan? The wetland line is basically where it is.
So the supplemental review would be anything you've submitted, not just the plan, but also the response to comments. I'm sure there's things in
You
there.
haven't seen that before?
I'm sorry?
You haven't seen that before?
I don't have a mechanism to review that for the commission at the moment. Our previous scope of work was up to basically tonight.
So your compadre from BSC has seen it.
The way for the planning board and whatnot, but for the commission, the way we submitted our report and whatnot, we don't have another proof for it as of yet.
So I guess I kind of expected that the long delay would have given you plenty of time to do that review, and you're saying that it never happened.
I mean, there's certainly plenty of time, but it's out of scope for work for us. So I'm not comfortable working out of scope. I'm sure you are too, you don't design stuff that you're
Try not to.
right? So,
Right now.
yeah, try here.
There's one other question I have too, was the breakout percentage of open space done? And, no, okay.
I can talk to you more about it, if you like.
Is that something that we want to have reviewed as well?
How is it relevant, I guess is my question.
Well,
Because the regulations don't require it at this point. And the OSRD regulations don't require it.
they don't require a breakout of what is open space and what is not open
No,
space?
they do not require a separation of what open space is part of stormwater management, what open space is not.
So,
Because it's all lumped together.
under this particular
Under this
filing,
particular
Under
application.
only under
Under
this
this
particular
filing.
Right, I just
filing.
wanted to remind you that that is not a requirement that we're under. We were able to meet it, we were able to say that the 55%
Mm-hmm,
allowed us to have over 50% of open space not tied up in the stormwater management. So it didn't become an issue that was brought to a head at the planning board because we still met that requirement. But we're not required to, but we did anyways.
Stepping aside from the OSRD and whatnot, as far as it applies to the commission, anyway. So you can kind of, as talking about the breakout and whatnot, that kind of reverts back to, references back to the performance standards, you know, burden of proof and whatnot, that the project will not adversely affect regulated resource areas, blah, blah, blah. And we kind of mentioned that earlier already, that, you know, any kind of work within the buffer zone that may adversely affect a resource area, that, you know, they have to prove that that's not going to happen, basically.
Right, and if I understand what you've said, the notice of intent, the narrative in the notice of intent doesn't talk to that.
Right.
And I forget which one of you now I talked to about resubmitting, either resubmitting a notice of intent or updating the notice of intent. And Nick, it sounds like something you would say,
What's that?
no.
I have a bag full of them and I hand them out like candy. So no, a lot of time, I mean, how many revised Form 3s and narratives do you get from every other filing that you have?
Well, that doesn't really have any bearing on anything.
It actually does. It shows a precedent. And right now, you're working on your bylaw that you have a lot of pretty exciting things coming. But again, you're working on it. So as you mentioned, you don't currently have the regulations and you're trying to set up precedents for this project that you're not following through the others, which seems like it's preferential treatment.
No, I would say that's...
If I may, no,
go ahead, no, go ahead.
so the reason we typically do a revised form or revised narrative, because generally, when you issue your order of conditions, you reference back to the permit, right, which is essentially that Form 3 narrative. So if you're referencing back to something that isn't updated, that becomes a problem.
I agree with that, and that's what I was
Right,
stress.
and if in the notice of intent that you've submitted, the performance standards aren't addressed, maybe the whole form doesn't need to be resubmitted, but the narrative certainly needs to be updated. And Chase has called out a number of things that should be in the narrative that aren't.
Well, the level of detail that he's asking for is not typical for a notice of intent that we've generally filed. Now, maybe BSC does it that way, and that's nice, but it's not in the regulations to do it that way. And it's not a requirement, and we are careful about how we spend our clients' money. It's a nice-to-have thing that he's called out based on his very thorough review of everything. And he can be commended for that, but it's not a standard that has been required of anything we've done in this town before. So, you know, there's a difference between what we're required to do under your regulations and what we're required to do when your consultant comes in and says, this is the way we do it, and I really like to see it like this. And it's hard to go back to our client and say, we've got to change everything because this is the way BSC does it.
Well, it's actually the commission that's making the call.
And if, may I speak again?
Yes, please.
So the regulation for the burden of proof is 310 CMR 10.03. And we kind of discussed that already. Performance standards of not adversely affecting. So it is a requirement. It is in the regulations. Additionally, 310 CMR 10.05 basically states that the commission can require additional studies, so on and so forth, as they see fit to support, to provide enough information for you to make an informed decision. So that provides a little bit more information for you guys to,
So I guess my question then is, what is unique about this project that requires that level of discussion when you haven't required it on anything else before? We're in the outer 30 feet of the buffer zone as opposed to 25 feet off of the edge of the wetlands, the way other projects have been. We haven't seen that required.
Well, we are a work in progress. As more development encroaches on buffer zones and wetlands, and we're learning more, this is part of the reason we're updating our bylaw.
There's the key thing. If it was in the regulations and you said, this is how you
But
do it.
as Chase just said, this is in the state regulations.
Which
One of the
binds us all
questions,
right now.
one of the questions I had was BSC comment number 19 said that information on the methodology for resource area delineation and such as BBW data forms was listed but not provided. Has that been provided now? Because I know we've had other projects where we've asked for data forms and we haven't gotten
Yeah,
them.
let's
So,
jump in on that. So the outline, again, this wetland line was done during the initial conservation analysis as required by the OSRD regs. That information may be in that conservation analysis. It may not. I haven't read it in a year.
No, I looked at it.
However,
It's not.
The initial comment is that our consultant and the peer review agreed to the line with the one revision. So, are we trying to generate paper for the sake of generating paper to prove that we're all on board with everything that we're asking? The box was checked that methodology was shown, and we provided a sketch forwarded from the conservation analysis of where the flags were, as well as approximate resource areas within surrounding the property as provided by the Ayer GIS.
Okay. A couple things. I believe the language says that the line appears to be correct. Part of determining whether that line is correct or not is the data that's provided with it. Secondly, the instructions on the BVW form say that the BVW forms should always be used and are required when you submit for an RDA or an NOI. And as far as like the methodology and whatnot, when you go through the form, I believe it says, it's a piece of methodology. It has to do with, did you provide BVW forms? Was there an ORAD issued? That sort of thing. So it wasn't yes, we went out there and we put up a line and this is how we did it. It's, this is how we came to where this line is.
Well, I think it's important for any NOI to have an ORAD with soils and vegetation analysis. That's just standard, right?
Right, and if the commission asks for the data forms, they should be supplied.
Have they?
We're just discussing it now. Great, so we haven't asked.
Well, again, we're just trying to keep up with the moving target. We've done work in town before under the same set of regulations. We wanted to talk about them, we can't. I understand
we're volunteer work in progress.
We still
Only better.
work in progress. I still have to rely, and my client still has to rely on the July 11th meeting where I actually stopped the closing and continuance to ask if there was any outstanding comments from the board. There was none, and the only direction we got was if the planning board's good with the stormwater, we're good with the stormwater. Same application was before you.
I think we weren't doing no comments, we were deferring
Waiting.
comments until we got some feedback.
I'm not saying
from
that you're
outside.
locked into that.
Yeah.
All I'm saying, this is 2 months ago, it was, we're concerned about the drainage. And now we're talking about a box checked on a piece of paper.
Well, because it's actually important. And, you know, one of the options that the commission has is if you guys feel like you don't have enough information to make a decision, you can deny this. And DEP will step in and they will take it from there.
Well, feel I'm in no position tonight to accept this, so.
So you're amenable to a continuance?
What's that, I'm sorry?
Are you amenable to continuing?
We can certainly continue our conversation.
Okay. Do you want to continue with our services with BSC? For $4,400?
For how much?
$4,400?
I would be very remiss if I did not express my displeasure and reluctance to spend another $4,400 of our client's money for the small amount of changes on this plan from the, I just think that's out of line.
Noted.
I mean, I personally don't think we need, I feel like I need to just review all of this information and make sense of it, and then I will have logical, concrete questions for next time.
Different opinion?
No, I'm in your boat too. I agree.
Okay. Motion to continue to
10:10?
10:10.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Chase.
Thank you.
Next item, discussion of enforcement order, Central Avenue, assessing map 26.
So in your package, you have a copy of the enforcement order? Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Commission.
Okay, so, give us an update on your progress.
Okay, so we've had 2 wetland scientists come out and survey the area. We have a present conditions plan, so you can see, what's there currently. I want to point out that if you've been by, it doesn't look like this at all. You can't see through it, it's a jungle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything is lush and green and growing very, very nicely, so this is ancient history, what we're looking at here.
Kyle, if you put that up on that little ledge over the table, I think it's easier for folks to see it.
If we happen to have the aerial view
I
of the
can,
property,
it'll take me a sec, but I can get us one.
so the two wetland scientists, I did identify wetland plants there and some conditions indicating, wetland resource. But they both, in their terms, described as low quality, low value. And really, from my perspective, happenstance. That we do have documents, and to go back and reframe, when I bought the property, it was described as a ditch. The land plans that I was given say ditch on it, and things of that nature. It did get,
this may be the thing we're missing because we're running off the generator
Fair,
tonight.
fair.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jordan.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so, you know, with that sort of framework that it was purchased as a property with a drain that took the town water across it, and then of course with water there, whether it's dry a lot of the year or not, you still get features and plant growth that indicate, you know, wetlands. So we've got a situation where certainly, you know, there's no arguing those plants exist, they're there, but there is an opinion, or two opinions, that it is a very low value, and really just came to be because of the lack of maintenance in that swale area to remove the road sand that is washed in down there and, you know, and works its way towards that pipe leaving. So to look at the property from the aerial, I think you've all seen it, this is a downtown lot, and I've had a lot of time to, you know, come to grasp with cutting the trees. That wasn't an easy thing for me to do, but also understanding that it is a downtown lot, and the best use of the land for the public, for the town, is to improve it. And so what I'd like to do is talk to you today about a plan to improve it, and try and get some thoughts or ideas that you might have for replacing the wetlands there on another property somewhere within the town. So our hope is our plan would be to put a culvert across the property that would carry the water underground from one end to the other, and then it would hook into the culvert that goes under the railroad tracks. That culvert going under the railroad tracks is deemed in good order. So Mark Wetzel looked into it, and there's a good, the opinion is it's a good it's a good drain going out under the tracks, and you know, won't need further investigation. So I guess my big ask of the commission is to consider that wetland that's developed, what the resource there is, the value, and how we could replicate it somewhere else in town to a higher quality, and what would that look like, and perhaps it would be other conservation concerns, other properties in town that are threatened. Are there invasive species in some of the town's properties that are taking trees down and killing great specimens and things like that? Is there, you know, is there a wish list that we could put together and create a stronger value somewhere else in town? Understanding that one of the options, you know, normally is to replicate the wetland on site. But the problem with that is it's such a small area. To do it, you render the property useless, and that's really being in a downtown lot. The value wouldn't be there for, you know, for the benefit of services and goods for the, you know, people in the town of Ayer, whether it's parking or businesses or things of that nature. But it really is shocking when you look from the area down at this, that everything else around it is developed, and it is a downtown lot. But I truly am a conservative land person. I own a lot of land, and this was difficult for me to do. And you know, when I grew up and you cut a tree, you really held court for each tree to see if it had value and which tree around it was the right tree to take. And you know, the silviculture techniques were very respectful of the land, of course. But in this case, I'm not a developer, but in this case, this piece of property is best used as something that the town can benefit from being developed.
Well, why'd you cut the trees all the way up the slope?
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Cut the trees all the way up the slope to the road.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really not useful.
I think well, for that reason, I think the property is small. It's awful tight, and we wanted to get to the lot lines.
Sure, it's an awful steep slope, you can't do anything with it, can you?
I do know, driving through town after this was done, before I oriented myself, it's like going down Main Street, it's like, what is missing? And just clearing the trees on that steep slope, it's like, that did not enhance the town at all. And it doesn't provide any enhanced services to the town to have that cleared. I think that was just upsetting to see
Understood.
have done it. There was no good reason to have cleared those trees.
Well, I'm saying the reason to have done that and to continue to develop the land is because that's the best use of land. There really aren't too many downtown forests in cities, and what we want to do though is take whatever value there, whether it's other trees, and replicate it somewhere in the town's.
I just want to say,
Yeah, so I think there's definitely a difference of opinion, and that's okay, right? This is America, we're all entitled to our opinions, and, I think we all agree that, removing those trees up there was kind of, it was unfortunate, right?
but there also is science about heat sinks. And that having trees in urban areas provides needed shade in areas, otherwise you start building up the heat. There is a function for that. Even if from an aerial view it looks like a lot of other property is developed.
Right. But that, that's not jurisdictional. I think the jurisdictional piece of it as well, just not being privy to what was going on,
If I didn't feel strongly that had to happen in order to use the land, and that the land should be used based on its location, I do, my largest parcel of land is 93 acres, and it's all forest, and that's where I feel I'm a conservation agent myself, because I own the land, I pay the taxes on it, and I've always felt that, and maybe just through my growing up in the hills, that the best conservation is private land ownership, right? And so to go back and get, be successful enough to buy land and just have it and steward it, I know it's not really mine, it's only mine while I'm here, is important. And this trees, especially maples, and my sugar maples are my absolute favorite. I tap and boil, and so it wasn't an easy thing to do, and it wasn't without that consideration that these are trees that have been trapping carbon for 120 years, and all that got released, and I understand.
I think, I still, given that we did issue an enforcement order for plans, for activities several years ago, I just wish you'd come to us knowing that we had issues and that we're objecting to you doing something with the parcel. It just had to be done with full knowledge of what the impact was on the wetlands on the site, and we weren't given that opportunity. That's, I do want to make you crawl through the coals on that just one more time.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So I guess what is the plan, and what is the suggested sort of alternative for creating a better wetland?
There's some ideas, just looking at it quickly. One would be that wedge of land down by the Rotary, to take that under some stewardship, and there's a nice dam and a spillway there. It's a very visible part of town that looks kind of neglected, and I think there's a lot of invasive species in there as well. So to do something there to improve it. Also, I talked to Mark Wetzel. He had mentioned Flanagan Pond has an access but no road or something, and that there are different places in town that the conservation has interest in property, but just doesn't have the resources to improve or to protect. If there are potential threats, that would be
Well, First of all, there's the state regulations on how much wetlands you can fill, which you have to abide by. I think probably we'd like to see an alternatives, some sort of like an alternatives list or analysis. You know, what proposals are out you have, you know, this or that or that. And you said that keeping the wetlands here makes the lot unusable. I'm sure the gentleman to your left has not taken pages to sit there and take notes. He must have done some analysis. And does he concur on that?
What's that?
There's no way to make the lot usable and keep the wetlands there?
I think go ahead, but I think what I was trying to say, if I can clarify, is that the lot is small enough so that when you do that, you've restricted this to such a size that it doesn't make, there's not enough footprint there to make value to develop it entirely, where if that footprint is picked up by replicating offsite, it makes much more sense. And considering that it's a low, I mean, when we look at it, there's railroad tracks, and we know those tracks are laden with oil, and we've got, you know, a lot of stormwater that comes across the property from down the street, and to you know, to work with the town to help mitigate that, and also that's probably going to take some space on the land as well, with the swales or bubbles and things of that nature. But anyway, so that's what, you know, I wanted to present the idea that we would take that water, channel it through across the property in a culvert, and then and now what can we do of greater value or greater importance in the spirit of conservation in town? And I guess that triangle came out to one, the Flanagan Pond, if there's a project out there, or perhaps this like town forest that is neglected through invasive species or other types of things.
A question, under state regulations, if you're filling in wetlands, you have to mitigate, not just do some other conservation project, right?
Right.
And then the question is, can mitigation take place on a different property than owned by the applicant? Isn't that covered? Do you know about that, Kyle? Or?
There have been other projects that I've seen that have had off-site replication. You know, and Judy Schmitz has assented to that idea. You know, I haven't had any conversations with her about this specific project. We have talked about some options, and
Is there, does it have to be in town? Like I mentioned, if I own other land with, you know, one
Yeah.
has...
Yes,
It has to be in town.
Okay.
I think that would be, that's something that Judy would stipulate, and in this case, it was it could be land that the town owns, or other lands that you own, John, or would have to be under some, I presume, would have to be under some other agreement with some other landowner, but I understand that this is a unique out-of-the-box approach. So if there are other options, other opportunities for areas that are impacted somehow, I think that's what John is looking for.
Judy reminded me today that it's our job to parse a plan, but not to provide permitting advice.
So you need to come to us with a proposal.
Yeah.
Oh. But if you
Including,
want to come to us with
Yeah.
a list of ideas, we can rank them.
So my understanding that if the commission had, I guess I had maybe wrongly assumed that there's if the commission recognizes places in town that really need help and stewardship, and if that is, and are you saying that you wouldn't be able to offer those locations? I would need to seek them out. I guess I'm looking for ideas coming from your minds to say like, geez, like, here's a problem we had, remember this problem, now we can solve it, or something of that nature. I don't know if that
I
makes
think
sense.
that gets ethically complex, doesn't it, for us, for the town?
Yeah, all right. Okay.
I mean, I think we probably want to stick to wetlands replication rather than some other conservation activity,
Gotcha, okay.
so.
And towards that, I think John is just saying if there are other known areas, given that the commission, the agent are certainly more familiar with the entirety of the resources that are out there that may be diminished, threatened, that might be of value to enhance or replicate or improve. That's the kind of suggestion he's saying. What are the most endangered areas that could benefit environmentally from some type of assistance? If there are those things that might be more on your dashboard than it would be on his.
Yeah, exactly. And I can work for some suggestions, but I'm open too, so,
Okay, I suppose we can identify problem areas.
But having an actual plan of, when you guys came in the office the other day and I said, ask for what you want. So if what you want is to put this intermittent stream in a pipe from one side of your property to the other, it would be great if you came to the commission with that
yeah.
on plan.
God is on our side. A tree fell on some wires as I was preparing that very plan.
Really? Shocking.
It's true,
Shocking.
it's true, it's true.
Just-
He called me.
Is that on Central Ave?
Yeah.
Yes.
I know.
And we're on generator power here.
I know.
My office doesn't have a generator.
You could have come over. We lost power for like half a second.
Wow.
So
We're right back up and running.
we will, that plan will, is forthcoming quickly, so, yeah. And, when, should we,
Without plan, can we drop it off next week in Joan's office?
the existing conditions?
Yes, and I could basically describe to you the plan that's in mine. Again, this is, I think what's occurring here is John's not final on what wants to be developed on this land. Is that
Right.
accurate?
Right.
Are
So-
there alternatives? Are
Yeah,
there,
I
are
guess
there
initially we
many
came in that it was gonna be a parking
proposals?
lot.
If
Is
I,
it a parking lot?
Right, no,
Well-
so the, my understanding is the situation here is that I need to respond to that, but I don't necessarily know yet, or the final fate of the property, right? But here we are with this thing that needs to be addressed. And so the answer to that, to address that is the culvert and replicating wetlands on another property in town. And that's the plan that we want to bring to you.
so effectively, if I may elaborate on this drawing, which is the only one I had printed of the survey. Joanne has a better version in your office. Didn't we need that with you?
No, you didn't.
Oh. So we have Central Avenue, which has very poor drainage design, very poor sediment removal, all these types of things, which, is somewhat wrapped up with this particular property and this particular channel that's going through here. And the deeds do point to this channel having a purpose for the railroad as a drainage ditch to be maintained, to have the sediment scooped out of there from time to time.
Well, you also noted it does form a part of a wetland drainage system from the top of Washington Street as well.
I don't have all that information. I understand that's
We can happily provide you all that information.
There's Joanne
I'll
found
look forward
this,
to that.
Public Spirit from 1947 talks about the Brook of the Week, which has no name, runs through the center of Ayer. The source of its most direct route is a spring near Washington Street west of James S. Harvey's house. But I think it's talking about this brook or drainage system that runs southward under Highland Avenue, across High Street, Cambridge Street, Central Avenue, and heads on into Schoolhouse Pond. So
I
historically,
haven't seen that, if I may have a copy of it.
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
Just where did you get?
Yeah, seriously.
The Historical
yeah,
Commission. Yeah.
So,
Very good.
I can,
if I
let's
could get a copy of your
I'll give
file.
you this copy in
That'd
one
be great.
second.
When streams ran free.
So, I'm not talking about the value of the stream, but there are the concerns about where it is right now today, that is somewhat tied into Central Ave. No matter what you do, you've got sediment dumping into this channel from Central Ave unabated at the moment. And I think Mr. Wetzel has plans for improvements, but he's got a lot of works to do in the town before this one happens. I don't know that this is high up on the list. But as we would propose to go from point A to point B with the culvert under this scenario, this development scenario, we would install some type of sediment trapping device, vault, manholes, vortex. I don't know what it would be. We haven't gone through that engineering to figure that out yet. But its concept is, let's get this water connected across here to discharge down the way. Through the culvert was a question, but I guess Mr. Wetzel's answered that question about this culvert is okay to receive that water. So just from a development plan scenario, because that is kind of what we're wrestling with, and there are options for this property, would be to connect it, provide some sediment removal ability so that, however long it takes for Central Avenue to be improved so that there are sediment removal measures installed, this is already doing that job. And once that's done, this leaves an envelope. We have various setbacks. We have a transition from the downtown business district to the transitional use district. There's new, they're very similar. They basically have 10-foot setbacks from most of, and there's a parking setback of 10 feet from most of the property lines. So basically inside the property, you've got, a 10-foot offset zone. Now, some of that, and so in short, that would allow this kind of strip in this downtown district to be developed as any mixture of things, which would predominantly be impervious areas. Parking, maybe buildings, maybe a mix of the two. Not sure yet. That's a longer range kind of goal. There would have to be stormwater mitigation for that installed, of course, and that there would be room at down near the railroad. So that is essentially the plan that we were developing. The other piece of that puzzle is, where does that mitigation take place? If the commission's willing to entertain that, we have to find those places. John's seeking your help in that. Maybe there's a database way, GIS way to locate town parcels and just find where those opportunities might lie. At the moment, everything here is stable. It's not eroding. It's not endangering, the flow of the water. It's kind of stable as it is while we try to figure this out. So that's the plan that would come back into you, but that would not, that plan is not the complete NOI until we have the mitigation aspect figured out. Obviously, we can't do that unless I can have an application that doesn't have that addressed. It's going to take a little bit of time to find those opportunities. And that's the goal of this development. That's it in a nutshell.
Okay. the sediment in the area now is pretty significant. And the riprap walls that line it aren't even visible at this point. So any time concern, I guess, would be to get that sediment out of there to take on more for next winter, or watch it closely. But I am responsible by deed to the railroad to make sure that they don't get flooded. So I don't want to fool the railroad.
So you're responsible for removing the sediment?
Yeah, well, now that I own that ditch, yes. Yeah. And they maintained it regularly. And that, of course, when I first got on the radar with the Conservation Commission, I haven't done anything. So.
By ditch, you mean the brook?
Right.
The intermittent stream?
Drainage
Intermittent
system.
stream.
Stream of many names.
We're more,
Or
Stream of the
donate.
week, stream of the week.
it's morphed under, well, it could be
1947.
turned back into a stream, but it's,
Could be Hilliard Brook.
Oh, boy.
Okay, so, I presume you're proceeding with this portion of it.
And it will talk with Joanne about what, and if the commissioners have any additional knowledge of areas that, may fit into this scenario, then certainly we would look at those.
Is that it?
And recognize.
Are you going to wait to bring an NOI until we give you those areas?
No,
Well,
You sure?
Well,
I'm sorry.
No, please.
I just wanted to mention that if we had an area, we knew an area, we would need to survey it and put a plan to that too, right? I'm guessing.
so
So that would take, I don't know where that would fall in with the NOI, but I'm happy to do that.
I mean, what I would imagine is the procedure from here is that we do a study of the lands that might be available for such a replication off-site. That will take a little time to look at that. If there's a willingness to do that by anybody in the commission, we would very much welcome that and entertain that, but that's not going to be the be-all, end-all and be on your shoulders as the stop, the hold-up for what progress can be made.
Right, because until you know what the actual impact is of putting this intermittent stream in a pipe, you don't know how much you need to replicate.
Well, we do have the flagging that's out there. We understand that the commission would have to verify that, but if we go by the flagging that's out there, it's about not quite 3,000 square feet.
And I think there are some extra regulations around piping a brook. I think it's very complicated, actually. Never having done it before.
Yeah, I think there's some things also, I mean, you can proceed on yours and we have to research some things too, like off-site mitigation, because I have a vague recollection of the MACC having a session I attended discuss that. And then
Well, I know
the
it's a-
mechanics of putting,
Right.
I mean,
Right.
how does the water enter your property?
It comes off the road, most of it comes
Well-
right down that driveway.
Yeah.
If you see,
But this, there's a little head wall right here, and there's a
Yeah.
culvert that comes under the road that
most of it's
carries
just draining off the hill.
carries the brook
Yeah.
all the way
Yeah.
down the hill.
Yeah.
So
And
that
under
would-
heavy rains
So we'd
and-
have to connect to a culvert coming in
Right here.
and
that's
then connect to the culvert going out.
That's
Right,
correct.
over, way over here,
Yeah.
near the railroad
Okay.
tracks.
right at
Yeah.
the base of that telephone pole.
Is that Army Corps of Engineers as well, or is that
We have to look
totally
into it.
not?
I don't know, but I think what we need is a plan. I think we need from you all a plan.
Right.
So that
we can then have something to chew on.
Understood. The holdup to that is the replication piece of it. So plan-wise, I
Plan and application, two different things. You
Right.
could give us an unofficial plan.
okay?
No, that makes sense, yeah.
And then in the meantime, we have this enforcement order with cease and desist. And I should have brought my sheriff's badge in from the office. But you are parking down there, right? Continue to park down there, and you all need to either say that's fine, or put a chain across the driveway, or, we've been asking for a plan for a long time, or an NOI since February, actually.
Since the snow was there.
Yeah.
I'll defer to our chair on that one.
Did the wattles go in?
Yeah,
So they're all
Yes.
six.
it is. The site, if you go back to the site is very stable. This doesn't really show it, but there's a big berm all around that. There's really,
Yeah.
you're standing on top of a hill right
yeah.
there.
This is all burned up. This is the actual brook, just frozen over. But it is, as John says, it's very.
Yeah, there's a good picture there.
This
yeah.
this is all. Yeah.
There's,
So it looks a little funny. The erosion controls are up on top of the berm, but there they are.
yeah.
Yes.
No, and both scientists said that erosion control was not going to do anything for you. You're fine. But we said we were going to do it. We did it. And so the cars are parked on this side of that, way downhill from the water. So in terms of any kind of threat, I don't see that it exists with the parking.
But you say water does come in this driveway off the road.
And then you can see it's a puddle down there by the concrete block, and
Yep.
it percolates really quick and dries up fast. There's really never any standing water there, but it looks like it might have recently melted. You can see the driveway's a little muddy at that point, actually. But that drive, there's enough water coming off the road where that road will wash out, and the railroad would come in with their big payloader, and they'd start where the concrete blocks are with their payloader, and they would just push it back up and grade it down, and they would do that like 2 or 3 times a year, just keep pushing that driveway back up to the edge of the pavement. I haven't done any of that grading either, but we're starting to lose the edge of the pavement, as so much water is eroding down there. So I guess the question is the parking. And
What's the parking for?
well, central for Ayer. I mean, there's no parking in town. It's
Who
pretty tough.
uses that?
I'm sorry.
Who is parking there?
My employees at Central Ave. Yeah.
How many?
Well, the ones that are brave, because there's no lighting there, and right now, and they, some people don't like to drive off pavement, so, 2 or 3 or 4 cars maybe.
Yeah, or 5 or 6, depending. It depends day to day how many cars are down there.
Yeah. If they fit 5 or 6 in there, they're all pretty good drivers, and because it's kind of Tetris when it comes to that number. But the idea, of course, my simple idea was, geez, I'm going to get the trees, and then I'll come out here and flatten that area where the trailer is, and provide some relief for the congestion up around the Neshoba Board of Health and 31 Central Ave. We get commuters that park up there, 6 in the morning, they're already lining the street. So it's tough. We've got, not at one time, but I guess I did a census today, we have 42 employees there. Of course, they're not all there all at once, but that is a fair amount of parking too.
So a plan to come in next week.
Parking?
This
cabinet.
showing what's there and showing the intent of
The
a
existing cleared areas.
development area, the culverting of the stream. And from there, we go into research and learning what's available, what can be done.
Right. As well as additional permitting that you're gonna need for.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
How would if all that, a lot of water comes in the driveway, how would that get captured? Or would that?
How would it get captured?
Right, because there's that little head wall beyond it that would have to probably be the point of connection, right?
Yep. So the
So how
water
would-
that runs down the driveway is just coming in off the street?
Yeah, but would that get captured, or would that just, that would just be...
In some manner, any improvement would have to deal with the water that's coming off of Central Ave.
Yeah,
That's unclear as to how we would have to accommodate that.
I think at this time, you really can until DPW, re-engineers the road at some
Right.
point in the future, right?
Right, that's
But
some part of,
We couldn't have that water stop there as the rest of it's developed. Once it comes into the site, if it's a developed area, we'd have to somehow convey that.
You know, and you just said, right, so typically it percolates pretty well.
Mhm.
So now if you put pavement there, percolation will be zero. So where's the water gonna go? Are you gonna put that back into the culvert that you put it in?
well, I
or-
mean, so we've got to work with the town on that. It is the town's water coming off the surface, and I think they recognize it, and that's part of this discussion too, is like, I'm happy to help mitigate the problem and use our resources to do it. The town is, they're great to work with, and we want to be good neighbors, but it is a pretty onerous impact on the property, the amount of water that comes down there.
It's something you have to work out.
Right, right.
As far as parking, do we just want to say you can continue to park on existing cleared areas? Don't clear anymore? Fine.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, and we'll get your opinion.
If you have something you want to say?
Oh, yeah, this is David Murphy. This is a resident ex-commissioner. I said, my thought is that if this was presented to the commission prior to the construction, I don't believe the commission probably would have said, yes, let's put it into a culvert. The fact that it's being done after the fact because of an oversight or error is kind of concerning to me, I guess. If the culvert was put, I guess I'd like to be able to understand a little bit more what happens even if you put the culvert in. Nothing's ever going to be built on top of that, correct? You're not going to use that property or anything on top of it afterwards, just such as parking.
Sure. Yeah, that's the idea to do that, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, you're taking it totally out of what it was, as a small intermittent stream, wetland kind of area, but really intermittent stream. I'm just expressing the concern that's, I don't believe, at least when I was on the commission, we would have approved that to happen prior if somebody had asked to do it. Now the fact that you're trying to fix it afterwards. Also, in that vein, replication of the exact same amount of square footage someplace else in town, I think it should be more replication than what is being lost here for the fact that this was not done correctly in the beginning. So I would hope that the commission would consider that we're not doing a square foot for square foot replication someplace, but that maybe you're requiring a little bit more of a replication. And I don't want to say penalty, but that's essentially what it would be. That was my comment.
also, given how many replication areas actually fail, you do want to provide bigger so that what fails winds up leaving you at least with close to what you had before. So that seems fair.
And David, as you know,
We just got,
yeah.
we
So
got
as
a lot of discussion, but we don't technically have a plan to say
Right.
yea or nay. to
No,
it, so
right.
I understand. This
until
is
we get that.
For all the time that I was on the commission, it's actually very unusual. You've never run into, I can remember. I do remember finding people for damaging this area, and issuing enforcement orders for damaging this area at times. But now it's essentially going to be gone.
I think our thought is to replicate that square footage in a higher quality scenario where this is a low quality sort of happenstance wetland plants that just developed because water came down the hill off the road. But to take that square footage that we now, have surveyed and understand and put it in an area in town where it would do well and where it would survive, and not try and replicate a wetland down along the railroad track where your failure rate is going to be 70% or something. That was our intent, is to do, to do better than what we've got. And understanding that the commission's working to allow us to, make the best use of the land. That's
So we know where we're going from here?
Yeah.
All right, good. Let's move on.
Thank you for your time.
That's for you.
Oh, great.
There are more. There was a whole series in the newspaper in the 40s. Yeah.
All right, our next hearing is a notice of intent. Off Shaker Road, Pond View, open space residential development. DEP file 100-0437.
That's you.
Do you need a pen?
I think that's right.
Okay.
Sign with Sharpie. Everything.
Oh, there it is. Damn, I stole my pen. I didn't steal it.
I was hoping you wouldn't find.
Blame somebody. Let's see if I can use that one. Good evening.
Good evening.
My name's John Boardman. I'm a civil engineer with Places Associates in Littleton, Massachusetts. As I was sitting here, I was flipping back through my folder. Let's see, we did an ANRAD back in August of 2018. Determine the wetland boundaries on the property off of Shaker Road. Then after some discussions with the town, we filed a preliminary subdivision. And as a open space development, that was sent over to you guys. And we came and visited you a bunch of times to talk about it. Part of that was also an environmental analysis that was completed by Oxbow and submitted to the commission. The commission then gave comments to the planning board, and the planning board issued a preliminary subdivision approval with some suggestions and some guidance.
When did they do that?
You'd ask me that date.
Recently.
I think it was it last winter? I don't know. I'd have to put what out. I apologize, I don't have a date on that. And the planning board issued a preliminary approval that basically said they wanted us to maximize the distance from the development to Shaker Mill Pond. They wanted us to reduce the road length to approximately 750 feet. They wanted us to try and connect the open space surrounding the boulder to the open space surrounding the pond, so that you would have an access and a pathway. And that in maximizing the distance to the pond, that the other isolated wetland areas that actually were probably dug out in the past were of less importance than the Shaker Mill Pond, I guess, was the gist of your letter or your guidance, which then translated to the decision. So we took that information and we have filed a definitive subdivision with the planning board, and we've met with them twice, and we filed a notice of intent with you folks, which tonight is the first evening of. I did dig through my pile back at the office, and this was the preliminary. That's not going to work, is it? I'll get my own in a second. This is the preliminary subdivision we filed.
Can you remember what I said the first day I saw that plan?
She didn't like it. She was clear about it too.
So this is the preliminary that was filed. This is actually the one I dug up that we had up here, and we were drawing on and talking about distances and roadways and
John, could you put
reducing.
that up on the little ledge so the folks
Sure.
in the seats can see?
I'm not gonna be on it too long, but, so that was the preliminary. The road extended all the way to the back of the property, the green circles there in the middle where we were talking about shifting the roadway back. This line here is the 50-foot buffer zone, this line here is the 100-foot buffer zone. And then also we have buffer zones for that small wetland area over here. So that was what we talked about. We talked, and the boulder's right here. Can't remember the boulder. So that was what we had talked about. That was what was submitted, and then we sort of progressed from there. At the end of the preliminary, we had concept plan C, I think was the official name of it, where we talked about pulling almost all of these units outside the 100-foot buffer zone, shortening up that roadway, and then tightening up around this wetland area. And that was referenced in the preliminary approval as the go-to plan or the direction to head with the project. So, we have since filed subdivision. It was very similar. See the 100-foot buffer zone to the pond here. Again, the majority of those units, those lots, and even the grading and tree clearing is outside that 100-foot buffer zone. So I think we've really hit that goal. The road, which used to be on this side of the boulder, was moved to this side of the ledge outcrop or whatever it is.
Glacial erratic.
Yeah, that's probably the technical term for it, but I'm not a geologist, so. And that gives us the opportunity to make that part of the open space, as this is an open space project. We give you a potential access point to walk from the road, make it a little bit more cohesive. We have, again, lots over here, a number of which are outside the buffer zone. We have lots here and here that are in the buffer zone to this isolated wetland. Very similar to what that scheme C was. The only real change was we had talked about possibly a sort of a loop driveway and these lots being closer. We ended up pulling them up to the road to make the numbers work on the open space steep slope wetland calculation process that the LSRD developed. So we filed a notice of intent for the road construction, the utility construction, and the units. The fee was based on 9 house lots in the buffer zone, 2 point source discharges, and then whatever the other generic fee is. Construction of single-family homes, 9, project source discharges, 2, road construction without a crossing, 1. So that's what we're asking you guys to look at. We're asking you to approve. I think we have put in a very good faith effort to do everything that we've been asked to do so far from day one. We are still working out some issues with the planning board. There may be some changes here, but at this point, would like your input, like your comments and thoughts on what's been presented. In terms of what it really is it's those houses in the buffer zone, it's the roadway from here to here is in the buffer zone, and then again from here to here. And then because we have stormwater associated with the roadway design, and it's subject to stormwater management standards, DEP regulations, we have a drainage system that also falls under your purview. This is just the site plan, and I colored up in yellow the limit of work, which is essentially the lot perimeters. The back of these lots here, we get very close to the wetland areas. We have a catch basin here that right now, it's my belief that, in a real heavy rain in the springtime, that probably trickles across what is the current access road. So we would add a catch basin that would pick up that flow, set that catch basin at the existing ground elevation so that we wouldn't make any alterations to that, how that wetland functions. A couple of catch basins located in the road and an underground detention structure. Think of it as a really big septic tank. And that provides detention of runoff so that we do not have any increases. We're also going to provide a board sentry here, which is one brand of the hydrodynamic separators, which swirl the water and give you the 80% TSS removal required by Mass DEP. And an outlet from that structure that would continue down and discharge here at the back of the lot with your clean water. And then out at the front, similar situation. The high point of the road is roughly here, so the water's going either direction. We got a pair of catch basins, another pair at the entrance, coming down to a drain manhole, a board sentry unit again that swirls the water, keeps the trash in. They take periodic maintenance, so there'd be a homeowners association for the project. Talking with DPW, they'd be the ones responsible for having a maintenance contract, have a vac truck come out, and the vac truck basically sucks out all the sediment and any trash that gets in there, pulls back the petroleum products and anything that washes off of the roadway, and gives you clean water, which would then be outlet adjacent to the pond, located there. Let's see, DPW's asked us to put streetlights in, which we hadn't proposed originally, so we'll be adding those to the plan. We're talking with the fire department about common driveway widths and some access turning radii, and making sure that they have the safe ability to get on the site, and we'll be providing them some plans. What else do we have going on? There's some questions from the neighbors. There's some questions about the turning access out at the front, and we'll be again dealing with planning board with those, and hopefully coming back in a short time with a plan that's everybody's happy with, if that's possible.
Do you have a figure for total amount of work in the buffer zone?
No, I don't think I did an area on that. You're just looking for a square footage of disturbance.
Yeah.
I can certainly provide that. That's easy with the computer.
And John, is there any connectivity from one open space to the other?
Struggled with that a little bit. We lose some of that when everything shifted this way. So the light green here is roughly drawn following the lot lines. The dark green is roughly what your open space ends up being. So this really isn't the right drawing for this. I'll run with it. So you've got a portion of open space here that is connected across the back. It narrows down pretty small. I think it's about 10 feet. This wetlands is in the open space and again narrows down to about 10 feet. And the top of the hill here is open space. There's really no connection here because the corner juts in, but we do have a piece of open space located here. There is an access to the golf course through here, so that breaks it. And then the remaining piece, and I keep forgetting to do this, I should bring one that shows you the entirety of the parcel because it actually goes all the way over to 2A, the whole pond, almost over to Bennett's Crossing. We have some pretty substantial area involved in that. And maybe that's a good thing to remind everybody about. So total parcel area is just under 20 acres. Using the current OSRD calcs, which are being revised for future filings or future projects, we could in theory get 33 units. We are proposing 23, and actually the reasoning on that is one, that's what fits, and two, that's what we can make work with the percent open space that's not wetlands or steep slopes calculation. Okay. So that becomes the limiting factor on this particular site.
And how much open space is there
Yep.
that's not
So
wetlanded or steep slopes?
total parcels just under 20. Required open space is 50% or 9.8 acres, and we're providing 14.6. So overall, we have substantially more Then your regulations, the regulations talk about, let's see, minimum open space. So it's 3.65 acres of the provided open space is not wetlands or steep slopes, which is the minimum requirement. So the pond area doesn't count in that, the wetlands area doesn't count in that, and then the steep
Right.
slope areas don't count in that, so. It's actually interesting though, when you start doing the math, it actually pushes you to develop on the steep slope areas because they don't count your open space. It's interesting sometimes how you look at when the regs get written, that they have unintended consequences.
Yes, yes, we're well aware.
But
So there are no stormwater basins planned within the open space or the buffer zone?
we were told at the beginning of this process that the intent was that the drainage not being in the open space, and we have tried very hard to honor that with a substantial change in cost, I would put it, to put the underground detention as opposed to digging a hole.
And the existing gravel roads to be removed?
Yep.
What's going to happen to that?
That's this.
In
This
most,
gray thing.
yeah, it's the gray
Roads
thing.
down here.
Basically, the new roadway will closely follow where that
This
is.
the new one. No, that's the existing one. This is it? Okay. Yep.
So basically, the new road is going very much or very close to where that gravel access is.
Okay.
The idea is to provide,
That's the buffer zone.
the idea is to provide the golf course with the access that they have now and not to impede them in any way.
Okay.
It'll actually be an improvement because right now they're bumping through the gravel and the holes and the ice and all the stuff that was out there, and it'll be paved at the end of the day. So we're trying to be good neighbors and try and provide them with an access that they need.
Anything else from the commission? Any public input?
Just quick, so the first lot all the way to the left on the top there, on the drawing, the other drawing you showed on the other page, that's almost into the 50-foot buffer, or the 100? I mean, I noticed that one lot looks like it's a lot more into the lightning black close into the, towards the
Let
left.
me show you the right plan with this, so we're all talking about the same thing. And you're looking at,
The first one is,
This-
yep, that one there, it looks like it's extended farther than it used to be into the buffer in the first one.
the house lot shifted around from here to there, but yes, there's, that one is in the buffer zone, and we filed for that. But the advantage was a number of other ones have been able to be pulled out of the buffer zone.
I'm Kathleen Shields, I live at 157 Shaker Road, so I live in the North Family Shaker home, the last surviving home of the North Family Shakers. It's directly across the street from this development.
This is this property here?
Yeah,
Yeah, right on the corner.
yeah, and actually, my house is actually just 30 feet from the road. So we're very intimately connected with this design. I have a couple of questions and maybe some comments, but, and I don't know if it's addressed at this meeting. I'm sorry, I'm unfamiliar with the whole committee processes, so I apologize. But the water and the sewer that's going to come into this development, is that addressed through the Conservation Commission at all?
No.
No, so if it goes through wetland, it's not considered addressed by the
It's a
Conservation?
wetland, it is, yes.
Okay, I wonder if the developer can tell us where the water and sewer will feed into the development?
Sure, I'll clarify that. The site will be served by town water and town sewer. We're proposing E1 pumps for the individual units that will collect the sewer. In speaking with the DPW here in town, their preferred route is that we run sewer and water up Shaker Road and connect with sewer and water that's associated with the development that you were just talking about first tonight, the one over, no, I'm sorry, not across the way, the one that was the duplex lots on the right-hand side of Shaker if you're heading towards this project. That will involve work within the right-of-way of Shaker Road. That work will be within a buffer zone, and we have recently flagged those wetlands, and we'll be preparing a plan and submitting a separate notice of intent to you because that does occur within your jurisdiction.
So, I guess, I don't know if you're all familiar with Shaker Road there, but, so it continues up here, and Bennett's Brook, it comes right behind our house and through here. So I think by coming down Shaker Road, you're obviously putting it right through the middle of the wetland, the sewer and water lines. That's, of course, definitely a concern for us for a number of reasons. We've lived there for 30 years. We've seen a lot of flooding in this area. Periodically, we've actually had instances when the fire department from Ayer has had to come out and pump out our basement because we have a shallow hand-dug well in the basement for our water source. So there was a fear of getting contamination. So of course, bringing sewer and water under the wetlands there and having any kind of impact to the hydrology of the area is of a great concern to us. Also, I mean, I think that it's kind of interesting how the open space has been sort of described for this property, because there's actually, I mean, I'm not questioning your calculations. I just want to say that there is tremendous amount of sloping here. This is, like it was mentioned, this is a wetland area here. I've been there for 30 years. This was a wetland that has been there for at least 30 years. So I'm very aware of this property. So I mean, those are some of my concerns. I guess also there is an easement that the golf course has through this property. And they take their big 18-wheeler trucks down this easement. And I don't really see how that is going to really jive very well with this development. It's a service access road. It's the only way that they can get their big service trucks in there. And they have a restaurant, they have a bar, so, and again, 30 years of living there, I see these big, large trucks go through there. So I just think there's a lot of concerns, both from an environmental impact perspective. You know, I could list all the wildlife that is actually living there. And I feel passionate about this, but I can tell you, you know, just last night, I was sitting listening to a really wonderful sound outside, and I went out, and it was two green herons, you know, talking to each other across the wetland. So it's, you know, it's that kind of thing that I hope that you guys will really take into consideration. This is a very rural area. The other side of the pond has been fully developed. I just think it should be really considered very carefully. Both the impact to the environment as well as the neighbors and our water source. We also have septic. So, and again, the flooding that occurs in that area is something to really, you know, be cognizant of. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Did I hear right that the water sewage transport doesn't have to go through you people?
It does.
It does? Okay. Where are you in that process?
Would you like me to answer? Sure. The sewer and water connection will require approval from the Department of Public Works. They're responsible for giving permits for the connections.
Yep.
They're also responsible for giving permission to work within the public right-of-way, which is what we were proposing, basically putting these utilities under the pavement. So they would be responsible for that. A portion of Shaker Road actually travels through Harvard. So we would also end up needing permission from Harvard, the town of Harvard, to do that work. And then, as with any work that occurs within 100 feet of a buffer, within 100 feet of a wetlands or 200 feet of a river, that is under the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. So it would be in front of them for that work, yes.
Can I just make one more comment?
Sure.
So, bringing the sewer and water lines, I did send a letter to this commission a few weeks ago. I'm not sure if you got it, but bringing it down Shaker Road takes it right through the Bennett Brook. And it is an area where there is a lot of repeat beaver activity. And that actually is what results in all of the flooding upstream. So both my neighbor and myself, that's when we had the flooding issues. And I think, so when we talk about bringing the lines under the pavement, the road is actually like, I mean, the water's about this far from the pavement. It's you know, you basically be bringing it through the water. The way that Ayer DPW has cleared that culvert before to prevent property damage and contamination of our shallow well is to ram a telephone pole through the middle of the culvert. And it's certainly not something that could be practiced with these lines going under the pavement. So, you know, just when you're getting to that point, think about that. It's very dangerous.
The other thing I should...
The E1 pumps,
Yeah.
where will they discharge to?
The E1 pumps?
Yeah.
They pump into a force main. That force main would go up Shaker Road and would connect into the sewer up in Route 2A.
Okay, so it would be pressure line all the way up to 2A?
Yep.
Okay.
I should also clarify that I did not mention them. I don't want it to be a surprise later. There is currently a pipe that was directionally drilled under Shaker Mill Pond. It is our intention to utilize that as a water connection up to Route 2A. That is already under the pond. I think the town just did something similar, a directional drill for one of their water lines. I heard the hearings about it last year. So this would be similar to that, except for that the work has already been done. And we'll be working with Mark Wetzel to make sure that he's satisfied the pressure tests and all that stuff is in accordance with the standards.
So I just wanted to say, in terms of addressing environmental impact, when we first looked at potential project, I think there were lot lines planned right up to the 25-foot line to the pond. And so we have been working, I know there's that other wetland area, and we had to make a choice which was more of a priority in protecting that pond and getting as much work out of the buffer zone as we could. So that was one of the things we did work successfully for.
Yeah, with all due respect, I think 25 feet to the pond, you would have been on quite a slope.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it would have been very sloped, so
Yeah,
getting
I mean,
it
it's-
mostly out of there was,
Yeah, it's all slope there.
yeah. So we have taken that, we just have limits in how much we can, if it were my druthers, I'd stop all development anywhere in wetlands in proximity, but in terms of limiting impact, I think we've already gotten some good concessions. We're doing the best we can. So.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Daniel Tracy, Shaker Road in Harvard. One of my many concerns about this development is specifically on the wetlands. Shaker Mill Pond is not a static pond. As Kathleen said, it connects with Bennett's Brook, which comes up from the historic Shaker Village in Harvard, right along Shaker Road, and under the culvert, and then into Shaker Mill Pond, and then out beyond. So it's actually considered a river or flowing body of water. But it's, I think, a particularly sensitive body of water in that it feeds back into Harvard and continues on beyond Shaker Mill Pond. My concern, because this development is proposed to be on the grade, and even with stormwater mitigation through the catch basins and the filtration and so forth, runoff from these 23 homes, their yards and fertilizers, driveway runoff, etc., is all going to end up in Shaker Mill Pond, one way or the other. And I don't know, if the catch basins are going to catch and clean 100% of that water, but my concern is that there's going to be a substantial impact on the wetlands as a consequence of this development. So I would ask whether, I've read the conservation analysis, it didn't include any wetlands impact analysis per se. So I would just ask the commission to consider getting a wetland scientist involved or having a study done to see what would the impact be on this sensitive wetland area.
Okay. Anything else? Dave?
Yeah, just one quick question, this is my first question. Is this project at all involved with this culvert or this area here, which is always, ever since I've lived in town, been a problem to the town? I don't know, is this part of your property or your project? Where you're draining from this wetland area, a pond here, into this pond? This is where I believe, this is where the DPW used to come down with the backhoe and rip it out
Every week they do.
Huh?
Every week they do.
Yeah, well, that was an issue when I was on the commission. It's
Yeah.
never been resolved, but I wasn't sure if that was part of this project's land, if anything was gonna be done there, because that's been a problem for 20 years. The DPW has never resolved it. And they continuously rip out beaver dam areas that in violation all the time, but the town has stopped citing them or issuing enforcement order every time because we did it 6 times in 7 years, and after a while just got whatever. But is this going to address that, or can this address that at all? Because that is actually another reason that the water does back up, and I'm believing to the residence areas, is when that beavers get very active and close it, then it's brook coming up from Harvard, backs up, and that whole area becomes one large wetland area, or a floodplain, really. And so I'm just curious as to if there's any plans to have them, if that is their property, do something there, which would mitigate a lot of problems that have been going on for years, Harvard and Ayer, but less so in Ayer.
We're not proposing any work in the wetlands itself, or around that culvert. My understanding is that culvert's actually located in what is the right-of-way of Snake Hill Road that was never constructed. So it's actually the town of Ayers.
Okay, so so it's not your property. You don't believe that it is your property?
Not where the culvert was. The culvert's not there anymore. I believe the DPW removed it at some point in the past.
No, and Mark Wetzel just got an emergency beaver dam removal permit from Neshoba Associated Boards of Health to deal with the latest iteration of the dam over there.
It's been an emergency removal for at least 20 years. It's always an emergency removal.
Well, it's the only way you can remove a beaver dam is under that emergency permit. Because
Well, we're off topic now, I guess, but you can put in a permanent solution to it, which is beaver deceivers, culvert pipes, the whole deal, which is Dan Nason was doing.
And it used to be there, actually.
Right, Dan Nason did that and almost got it thing, and then after Mr. Nason left DPW, they ripped it out, destroyed it, and then we're back to this again.
We're not sure.
So,
I think there was also a question of some of that land being National Grid land or easement.
there is some sort of an easement, other easements coming
Yeah.
down from,
The ownership of
Yes.
that was always confusing.
but it sounds like there's nothing that we're gonna do here, so we'll have to push that some different way.
Yes, ma'am.
Melissa Tracy from Shaker Road. We live just less than a quarter of a mile up on Shaker Road here, and we also have land over to the left side here of Shaker Road, part of which is in Ayer, and some of which is in Harvard, which will be impacted if services are indeed run up Shaker Road. It will definitely impact our land there. So there's a lot of complicated things going on in this one little corner of Shaker Road, which is hard to fully appreciate. And I know you'll be doing another site walk, and you're also very familiar with this area, and I appreciate all the work that the commission has done and the sensitive look that you've had at this development. But in thinking about things like what will happen when there is more water going into the mill pond, and this funny little corner that we have there where the beavers, the water can vary in height, 6 feet, 8 feet from one side of that little culvert area there to the other. and what's going to happen when all of this water is going in? And has that been really looked at very carefully by, I don't know, independent people that would understand how to evaluate what the impact would be of this much activity and how it could impact that particular area and the flooding potential there? I mean, we've lived here 25 years and we've seen many times when this floods and it's over the road floods. And if we're going to have a significant disturbance along Shaker Road, putting in utilities and so forth, what is the impact along there going to be? This part of the road of Shaker Road is, again, very complicated. It's very narrow. It drops off right into the mill pond on one side and right into the mill pond on the other side and into Bennett's Brook. And then you have the complication a little further up of where Bennett's Brook goes underneath, as Kathleen was describing, the back of their property. When the water level is high, it actually flows back. And then when the beavers are cleared away, it drops down and everything flows back down. So you have a lot of water moving in a lot of directions, which is impacting the banks, the stability of the road, etc. And now we're hearing there are going to be utilities going underneath this road. So as my husband said, you know, it just, I would hope that the commission would also look at, and maybe this is not with this particular application, but when the time comes to look at putting services up this road, what is the overall impact going to be, really, with this amount of activity, water, disturbance, etc., in a very sensitive and delicate area that does support a tremendous amount of wildlife, from migrating birds to, yes, the beaver, which some like and some don't, but they do create a certain balance here. You know, they've created an incredible balance that we've watched kind of evolve over the seasons.
They'll still be there.
They'll be there. They will be there. They always win. They always win. But the point being, you know, that sometimes we realize the impacts of our actions a little too late. And it would be, you know, wonderful to see in this situation where you've had so much foresight and so much involvement with looking at what can and should be done to protect the wetland areas, and also in deference to the developer, who has also been sensitive and listened to what your suggestions have been. I recognize that as well. So if we're going to have a beautiful Shaker Road when this is over, and in another 10 years when our children are able to enjoy this area, hopefully, as they have over these many years. Let's hope we do the right thing now and make sure that some of these impacts are going to be mitigated ahead of time, because a lot is happening here. And you know, if there are such people out there that can do such studies, I'm come to learn quite a bit just listening tonight to all of you. Perhaps that's something that we could take a little more time, a little more effort, and really look at what's going to happen when all this water is going in there and the roads being changed and all of these different things that are going on in one very small area. In addition to what's going to happen when this is finished and we have 50 more cars coming in every day, in addition to all the deliveries and the school buses, and on top of everything that's going on with the golf course and how the activity through here is going to be tremendous with the activity that we already have with going to the golf course, which continues to grow as they develop their business plan and have weddings and activities all year long now at Shaker Road, at Shaker Hills Golf Club. So that's kind of what I wanted to mention to you, that we are very concerned and we are watching very carefully.
You know, I think Melissa, one
Appreciate
thing
your efforts.
that you made me think of is that we don't think about winter right now because it's still so nice, right? But I can tell you, living on that corner, all the snow gets plowed right into that corner.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
that, right?
Oh, yes.
So I don't know what's gonna happen in the wintertime because
Where are they gonna put the snow? Yeah, right.
well, Shaker Road comes, all of the water.
He does.
So, you know, up this way to the Shaker Village, the road is an incline or a decline down into the pond. So you should see it. I mean, it's like rivers of water flowing down Shaker Road. And all of the snow is piled right here. So both the town of Ayer plows it there and the town of Harvard plows it there. So it's this conflagration. It's like a big, huge, you know, wall of snow there, which will be probably right on top of the drainage. You know, just, it's gonna be right there.
Where will the snow go
So-
from the development? Yeah.
I don't know
How's,
I'm not sure, but if we never think about it at this time of year, you know, how we're going to.
Regarding the road itself, across from our house right now, there's a lot of undermining underneath the asphalt. You see it getting worse. So I'm wondering with the utility construction, what kind of road repair improvement will occur after that?
Because literally the edge of the road is falling off and we've had to call the DPW to come and just put, what is it called? Riprap or whatever it's called. Yeah, into these holes because there's just literally big, huge chunks of the road that are falling into the wetland. And they have done it. They've been very good about coming and taking care of that because I get nervous backing out of my driveway because I'm always backing into these big holes that have shown up, you know? So it's a real danger. And that's where the huge delivery trucks come down Shaker Road to go to the golf course, is on this really poorly maintained, underdeveloped, not really cared for road. So it really would require a tremendous amount of work to get that road built up so that it could really sustain and protect any sewer or water lines going underneath it.
And it's something we'll have to look at when we get that application.
when you get to that. And just one last question that I have. At the last planning board meeting, it was actually continued because there seems to be some question about the easement and the road with the golf course. Is there anything that John can tell us about that? With regard to that road?
There is an easement that crosses the property that gives the golf course permission to pass through the property, and we're intending to provide them the ability to pass through the property with this project.
But was there some question about that everything was kind of put on hold last week, or is there something?
That was one of the items that we will be addressing and providing to the planning board.
I see.
Right. We want it out. So if you look at this plan, you can sort of see it's a little darker shaded. There's a gravel road that comes in right about here.
Right.
Comes to this location and splits, and it goes up over here. And then it goes over here, and there's sort of a rough circle and access to their building. So they have an easement that allows them to pass here and up here. They don't have an easement that allows them to pass over here.
I'm sorry, I can't see you. I'm
sorry.
I'm sorry.
So their easement allows them to pass here.
Okay.
However, they're in physical location, they actually pass through the site here to
Right.
access there.
Right,
So
right.
we're trying to provide them an access which is convenient to them because that's where they're using it. So yes, the intent is to shift their access from here to here, and it's my understanding, and we will be providing documentation from the attorney that says, under the law, you're allowed to move the location of somebody's access on your property as long as you provide them access that is equally suitable for their purposes, or some legal jargon like that. And that's what we intend to do.
I think from a Conservation Commission perspective, what is impossible, and I brought this up to the planning board, is that the trucks have no option but to go straight at this corner, and it's really important that you guys understand that, because the way that these are very incredibly large trucks, and they would not be able to make this type of S-shaped turn at that corner. And I mean, it would just, and the planning board is completely understanding this and have brought it up, you know, to, you know, at the meetings.
It's under consideration, but I was
Well-
backing out of my driveway at 5 o'clock yesterday morning, and I don't know what kind of truck it was. It was dark. I had to wait for it to pass.
It's a large
It could never make that turn.
No.
Could never make that turn.
And having discussed it with Fred Curtis of the golf course, he said absolutely his trucks could not make any approach here except to go straight at that corner. It's also a dangerous corner if you have a truck trying to make that type of a turn. And like I said, our house is right here and our property is, if they were trying to come out, even school buses would have difficulty, fire trucks would have difficulty. So going straight there is the only option. So that may be something that, I don't know if the developers have considered making the road straight, but it's not really going to be an access for the golf course anymore if it's not a straight shot. It has to be a T-shaped intersection.
It's a very dangerous
So,
corner.
and this is literally, this doesn't even show it. This is right on the wetland, like the water is right there. And if you've been down there, you know where it is, yeah. So that's a concern. And I think that's something that's, you guys are probably addressing that, trying to figure out what to do, but it's a business. Shaker Hills Golf Course is a business that needs access, and they can't do it this way, so, just something to consider.
I wonder how that would impact the wetland area there if that road was straight there.
Stormwater's gonna be an issue. Runoff oils and everything else is gonna be controlled. Not on their property, but on the town's property.
The town's property.
Somehow.
So, we do a sidewalk and all our notice of intents.
I'm aware of that.
Are you anxious to have this done right away, or would you better wait till the leaves are off the trees?
I don't see any reason to wait. The weather's beautiful. Let's take advantage of it.
Okay. What are people available? We want the center line of the road staked, and of course the wetland boundaries, and the back corners of the houses that are closest to the wetlands. I'm guessing that won't be by Saturday.
The wetlands are flagged already, so that's not an issue. The flags were out there and have been reviewed already. I'm happy to walk them, but you've seen those all at least once. In terms of, you're looking for some back house corners on those lots near the pond?
Yeah, as well as the isolated one.
Okay. Yeah, and the center line of the road may be paint marks because it's if I drive stakes in the road, the 18-wheelers probably will not swerve through them, but instead go straight. And mostly the road is walking down where the gravel road is now for all intents and purposes, but we can certainly put some marks out there. And yes, my survey crew's going somewhere else tomorrow, so they're certainly not going to go out and have that by this Saturday, but we can certainly have it by the following Saturday, if you wanted to do that.
What's that date?
Fifth.
I won't be available, but don't let me be a deciding factor.
If you want to call me and I can reach out there and take you a walk some afternoon at the end of the day or some morning if it makes a difference, in a less formal, obviously not the official site walk, but I'd be happy to take you on the quick tour. Doesn't take that long.
Bonnie, when are you coming back?
I won't be back until the 9th, but then the following weekend I'm away.
When's your next meeting, first of all, I guess, because that...
The 10th, October
Okay.
10th.
Care about particular time. You don't
So you're
have
back the
particular
9th,
site
but
walk
then away that
requirement
weekend.
time, I can go, but you don't need to.
So the 9th is, because that's right after,
Okay, good.
Columbus Day.
Columbus Day.
So you're gone
coming
until
back.
13th. Are you?
So the following weekend, is it 12th?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gone that weekend. But I'll be back.
How soon's the notice of intent for the sewer water? How long do you think that's going to be?
Probably file in the next couple of weeks, next 2 weeks maybe next 3.
My only thought is, back when we were looking at the ANRAD, we had talked about doing an outside consultant at that point. I think you and I got voted down. But it seems with some of the comments that looking at that notice of intent, maybe looking at that also in light of this one, might be useful for us in evaluating the whole thing. And that might be another time to consider whether we want to get some outside input.
Yeah, I think considering it's such a very sensitive morphing area where I think trying to understand the consequences and of any development and work is important.
It's only going to be a couple weeks to the other application. It makes sense to combine them into one sidewalk.
Yeah.
Shooting for maybe the 19th, are we thinking?
Yeah.
What's that?
Shooting for maybe the 19th? What was it, maybe?
Yeah.
2 birds, 1 stone kind of deal?
There'll be separate NOIs. It seems like they should be handled separately.
Handled separately, but a single sidewalk is convenient.
Okay.
So 19?
I'm not available on the 19th.
So that'll be well after your next meeting, the 10th.
Brings us to the 26th. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay. So our meeting after that would be November 7th.
7th.
Getting plans in small on this particular.
So we're
they're illegible.
sidewalk on the 26th?
Yes.
And are we continuing till the November 7th meeting? Was that your intention?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what time on 26th? 9? 8?
8, early, yeah,
8.
early.
Eat with a
fine with
large
8.
coffee.
5 of 8?
I'm fine. I'm fine with 8.
5 of 8, yes.
8. I'll be here with coffee at 5 to 8.
All right, so motion to continue to November 7th.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you for being patient and waiting your turn.
Did I have a choice?
No, but you could have thrown a fit,
8 a.m.?
But neither did we.
Oh gosh, 10.
Okay. So the next 4 things are signing, right?
Right.
Okay, let's continue determinations of applicability, 8 Standish Road. This is for signing.
Just a sign. Thanks. Thank you.
We approve this? This has been approved?
Yes. Standish.
Yes, we voted.
Just sign it.
Was I can't remember. Was I at that meeting?
You were not. You and John were not.
Okay, so I will Can you pass, right? Because I shouldn't sign if
Can we sign her?
You can say.
it doesn't matter.
You don't have that many things left to sign, so I think.
Take advantage.
Yes.
Things to sign. Oh, yeah, they'll be coming in like gangbusters.
Yeah.
All right, next is,
So can I just ask a question? For the Shaker Mill Pond, when we get to voting for this NOI, is that then also approving the house lots that are within the buffer zone? So that we'd wind up with the same situation where, down the road, where we'd have to issue partial certificates of compliance for each one?
Unless there's some way around that. I'm gonna look into that.
Individual notices of intent would do it.
And
Right.
amendments,
But if we, well,
Yeah.
potential
that's a
amendments.
conversation for another time.
Yeah, that
I
we
know.
can
But
discuss.
Yep,
on that.
yep.
and next is continued request for determination of applicability Old Town Village, Cider Hill Underground Cable Replacement.
Yep.
For signing.
We voted.
Did they end up redoing their road after, or not redoing?
Oh,
Is
the parking.
Yeah, the parking? Did they?
They were
were
gonna do that when they, next
when
time had to. This isn't that.
Oh, it's not that.
No. Cannon Gate, is that?
Oh, that's,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
that's
Cannon.
Cannon Gate.
No, they.
No, no.
Across from the pond?
No, it was Old Town Village, I think before you came on. Or
Oh,
maybe
they were
right when
gonna
you came on. There's some drainage things that were not correct, that next time they paved, they were going to,
Right.
isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a few years ago.
I can't, yeah. I thought it was
Right
this
before
one.
you came on, Joan.
Okay. Well, the other two paving things that we approved have not been paved.
Yeah, no, they haven't done anything.
Isaac's Way, Isaac's Lane,
Mhm.
or Cannon Gate.
Oh, Cannon Gate, right.
Yeah.
They haven't done anything up there?
No,
No.
no.
Whatever happened in the Sugar Valley Board of Health, I thought they were.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right, the shovel.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think
That
they were
driveway.
planning on that till next spring. It was like, yeah. I think it
Well, I
was-
guess I thought they were doing it, but not.
I thought they were gonna do it this summer. Anyway, all right.
All right,
Or maybe this fall.
Too
got,
late.
request for determination of applicability, reclamation and related work on Route 2A Harvard Road to Main Street for signing.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Second.
I don't have that one. How is it that I don't have that one? I don't have that one.
Okay. Request for certificate of compliance, 31 Pingree Way.
That one I have.
We vote on this one?
Did we do that one? No.
No, but I went out and looked at it and it's, no, we did, we talked about, at least you and I talked about this one, it was the, okay, that's good.
Yeah, he wrote, he texted me he was scared earlier.
Yes, they submitted a request, I went out and I inspected it and it's fine. And it's a partial, because everything in that neighborhood is a partial.
So, motion to approve the certificate of compliance, partial, 31 Pingree Way.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so here's the thing, but,
I don't know.
Every once in a while, a plate hits the ground. That's all I can say. Smash.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm sure you don't.
Everything always works out perfectly for
I
me.
know, for everybody except me.
All right. Discussion and formal approval of town meeting warrant article.
I think Jess did a fantastic job.
Oh, I have to put
Yes.
that down.
Do it.
Jess,
I did read through that
Of what?
on the train.
Of what?
Your, the final
bylaw.
beautiful
Okay.
wetland bylaw.
So, I've been working on potential PowerPoint slides for presentation to the Board of Selectmen and also then town meeting.
Thank you.
This is probably still wordier than, but it's something to work on, but that, the Board of Selectmen's next Tuesday. And
Yeah. Let's call it this coming Tuesday. 'cause
Oh, this
that makes
coming
it sound
Tuesday.
sooner.
Well, first we got to vote to approve the warrant article.
and on, oh shoot, that's what I forgot to bring. There's different papers. There's papers everywhere.
Where's that plate? Where's that plate?
Smash.
Yeah. I guess it does affect me sometimes. The plate drops very quickly.
Funny.
Yeah, so I went through and did all the town council changes, and they all actually seemed fine. They were just what I mentioned in the email. They had had that repeat paragraph. Well, we had our original paragraph at the end of definitions, and they had moved the basic content up to the beginning. It's like, I think they meant to take that out. And there was one other.
Do you want me to go print it out?
No, I think I have it on here, and I'll find it really fast. And there was just one other little word choice. But basically, I think I was amenable to town councils.
Well, and I thought they were thoughtful comments. And then the nice picky minutia things that you hope the lawyers are.
Well, all the changes of MGL to, in the section sign, and then they missed a few of their own.
Yeah.
They did?
Then I did a global search in the document for
Wow.
MGL, and it's like, oh, they missed one. Oh, they missed another.
So, section 9, definitions? Is that what you're referring to?
One of them is,
And the graphic gets to stay.
I know, that's
which
really
is
wonderful. That's really cool.
Really, really nice.
the end of the definition section,
End of the definition.
yeah, basically.
Actually, now reading that, it sounds like it.
And I think they had us take out,
Wildlife habitat?
Definitely ask her.
see, it doesn't matter if you print this out because it was what I have my comment document. So basically, I think we're good.
Good catch.
I think we're fine. Yeah, so the beginning of definitions now says, unless otherwise defined in this bylaw or regulations promulgated by the commission, the definitions set forth in the Act and 310 CMR shall apply to this bylaw. And we had that at the very end, so I got rid of the ending version of that. Yeah. So I think we're good.
Okay, so you'll see me tomorrow, well before noon, with something that I can take to Robert
Of what?
of this for the,
Well, I sent it, that's that document.
Okay. I mean, it doesn't need any more changes. We're not making any more changes, so.
So this thing that you've already sent is the thing I can take to Robert?
Right.
The draft of 9/23/19?
Yes.
Which is no longer a draft?
Right.
Okay.
And they may choose to get rid of the draft. Or make any changes in that beginning header.
Yeah.
I don't know, but we'll leave that to you.
Okay.
So basically,
Have at it.
have at it, yes. Although Robert already has it, but you should officially give it to, you know.
Yeah, there's this whole thing we have to go
Yeah.
through.
That's oh, and you should make sure to put this draft
Online.
on the website. And maybe a
List it as final, you
Facebook.
said, right? Take the draft off, put it as final now, right? Do we say that?
Yeah, I guess that. So you want me to make that change for you and send you that version?
To take this off?
Take the draft off? Or do you think you can do that?
I bet I can do that.
Okay. And then I'd put a little announcement on Facebook, etc., that we've put up our final thing that will be submitted at town meeting, and we had talked about October 10th, putting on our agenda time, if anybody wanted to show up to see what the have any comments on the final one, we would go over it. If nobody shows up, we'll say, yeah, let's move on.
Okay. And then, okay, so that's good.
So we're good.
Do you have a motion to approve the warrant article as submitted?
So approved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so for the selectmen's presentation,
Well, my thought is, instead of preparing two PowerPoint things, we should just prepare the one. Can skim over things for the Board of Selectmen, but it's there, because they just want a big overview. And I'm willing to do the presentation unless you really want to, George. What do you want?
Well, you can do it if you want. You're talking about the selectmen presentation?
Yeah. Maybe town meeting if you don't want to do that one. No, it's been my baby. So,
Okay. Do the selectmen and we'll go from there.
okay. Okay.
Will each be a slide, a separate slide?
Well, I was thinking, and Joanne, you want to start working on preparing the PowerPoint slides on this, and then you can edit away as you feel, and then we can go back and forth.
you missed the slashing. You're gonna have to watch that on TV.
So okay, this is much slashed down from what I started, so, I know.
And what about reordering?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just, I'm ignorant of the word, but under the Wetland Protection Act, the 8 interests of the act,
Yeah.
Third slide.
that one's, towards the bottom it says protection of fishers.
Oh, well, fishers are very nice, but
We're very interested in
You did mean fisheries, right? That's what he was asking me. I said, oh yeah, no, she meant fishers. And then I looked like,
protection
no, I
of
think you're right.
fisheries for the benefit of fisher cats.
Right.
That's was my
And
question.
those who fish. Fishers.
Yeah.
Right.
Fishermen.
Or women, or just
Protection of
fishers.
Fishing cover.
The presentation with assistance. Presentation with assistance. Backup.
Okay.
That's what I was saying.
Backup singers.
Yeah. Because, somebody has to edit me. But, so, can slash away.
Okay, because just looking quickly, I know this is too many words.
It's a lot of slides.
Well, yeah. But
Yeah,
it's
and I'm
just,
too much in the weeds, but Right. I'll get you out of the weeds
Okay,
without losing the content.
yeah.
So let's just say, for argument's sake, what number would you think would be appropriate to show at town meeting? What number, how many slides?
Do we have an allotted time at all? Do we know?
Well, I think it's partly, as you saw it when, at the fall town meeting, when it came to the
Oh yeah, the planning.
form-based development.
But he didn't get the-
Nobody wanted the
slides.
presentation.
So it just got voted
Yeah,
without
so you
the
can have
slides.
them.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen again.
No. And, yeah, so this is like maximum. And then Joanne's gonna
Yes.
slash and burn.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is 13 slides. I'd say if you got to 6, you're probably in a good spot.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
My
I would
thoughts.
say 4 to 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
4 to, well, remember, you can always breeze through slides.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, we don't need to go through that. The importance for presentations at town meeting is to be the soul of wit and brevity.
Yes.
Yes, Robert says, less is more.
Yes.
Yes.
Less is more.
Yes. Listen, like I get that at work all the time.
I just have a great line from back in 2005 when there was the last attempt. And one of the comments made by a resident was, "Oh, this should have been done, we don't need to do it now, it should have been done 10 years ago. This is closing the barn door after the horses have left." And it's like, the quote that's been being used a lot lately is, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, the second best time is now. And it's like, best time to do a new bylaw maybe was 20 years ago. Second best time is now, and I think there's still some horses in the barn.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
With the trees.
With the trees.
There might still be some fishers.
And some fishers.
Yep.
Okay, so does this give you something to work
Gives
with?
me something to work on.
Why don't I send,
Are they typically looking for very straight, just words?
Yep.
Nothing flowery at all?
Nothing
Nothing
frilly.
pictorial?
Nothing
Oh,
pictorial.
with pictures. That might be
I'm just looking at some of the
wise to have.
words and stuff like that, and you could probably do some very simple things,
So did I send you the photos?
yeah, and that first photo
Is really,
would be the one to
Yeah.
use to open with the photo showing the
Yeah.
ponds, some of the ponds, an
Yeah.
aerial view.
really, really nice aerial views that Community and Economic Development bought these pictures.
Mock them?
Yeah.
I mean, one of the slides I keep, and this was what Robert apparently wanted, is what the bylaw does not do,
Okay.
which is the last one on here, and it's like, it's not going to impact existing conditions or structures, it's not going to add a local filing fee, it's not going to let us enter your property without prior notification and consent, it's not going to prevent new projects or new development, it's just going to do it right, and it's not going to prevent appeal challenges to our decisions. So, if you can think of any other,
Yeah.
Town council take out the piece of final fee.
That is nice.
most of it.
So we could have
Lots of
local filing
wow.
That was 17%, looks tremendous from there.
Do you want to take that one off?
Very blue.
Okay, taking this one off.
Which?
Won't add a local filing fee. What did town council say on that?
And I would say in your third bullet, instead of let us, just say won't allow Concom.
This is going to be great
Oh,
because
so what I'd say is get any edits also or suggestions too.
Yes.
And then you can slash and burn because
Did you see
I won't
this?
have the heart to do it.
That's your baby.
Yeah, it's my baby.
So Joanne, you want us to edit this, or do you want to put this in and have us edit the
Oh.
PowerPoint?
That would be good.
Does it make a difference? Well, you already have this in a PowerPoint? Obviously, that's what this is, or no? Or
No, no,
these
no.
just bullet points on a Word
Do I
document?
know how to do PowerPoint? No.
No, okay.
who knows PowerPoint?
I do.
You
She
do,
does.
good, okay.
But you've got the Word document you can send her, right? Whatever this came out of?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because then you can just cut and paste out of it, so.
Yeah.
So why don't you edit this? Edit this.
So I'll send you this. Send card doc. Do you want me to just send the results of our vote and the bylaw to Robert saying officially go ahead with this? I can do that tonight. Then you don't have to do that.
I don't know if I'm supposed to do that.
Okay, I'll let you do that.
Yeah. We could both do it.
You could, okay.
It might be nice for you to finish up by handing it off to him. All right, so I'll probably start on this on Monday. Tuesday's the long day here, and the selectmen's meeting is at 6.
Oh, is it 6 or 7?
I think they changed it to 6. Yeah. So getting anything to me by noon on Tuesday would be really the latest.
I'm out of town Saturday, so you'll have it Saturday.
Okay.
I'm not expecting a ton of edits, but yeah, just whatever will few there.
All right.
And then I was also sort of working on an FAQ document. But we have much more time for that.
We do, because that's for town meeting.
Yeah, so I thought I'd do a rough thing and then start circulating it, and everybody else can add, subtract, change, slash, bin.
Yeah, and you know, this thing that you just prepared could inform the FAQs.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
All right. Conservation Office updates.
There are a few. So this is the first update. Bonnie, you have to look up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sad face.
With the sad face. Yeah.
When is that effective?
November, was it 19th, I believe? It was a Friday. Sorry, I should have brought it with me. I think it's November 19th. It's the end of November, basically.
All right.
How many meetings do we have? We have two meetings in November.
Yeah, it was like
November
7th,
7th,
We
and
have
then...
the 7th, are we having a 21st then, between that? Or the
It's on the
20th?
it's on the bottom of the agenda. On the bottom of the agenda. 7th
I
and
wrote the
21st.
7th, but and the 21st.
Because we always have to avoid Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Oh, I see the 21st, yeah. It's a very, yeah. I didn't even see that.
You don't want to come to that one?
No, of course.
You're coming to the 21st.
Oh, wait a minute, the 19th. No, I already wrote it. I mean, I already sent it in.
You can amend it.
Can I amend?
But Robert rescinded it, right?
He
So-
rescinded.
Yeah, so you have to start
So you
again.
gotta rewrite it.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm sure I did that right. Maybe it was, maybe I
would be
said
a
the 22nd.
Maybe.
Right.
Maybe I did write the 22nd, because I remember it was the Friday after the Thursday.
Oh, so maybe it is the 22nd.
Maybe I'm wrong. Okay, well, we'll figure that out.
All right.
I'm sure I did it right.
On, I think it's called Blueberry, which is off Calvin Street and where Oak Ridge Drive and Calvin come together, there's a little
Oh, yeah.
cul-de-sac.
Yep.
There's a resident who has been in contact with me pretty much all summer. Her neighbor is spraying for mosquitoes, and now the state is spraying for mosquitoes, and she has health impacts from that. And she also backs up to a potential vernal pool, and she's worried about the vernal pool. So
So I just forwarded her email to both boards of health, and told her I would let you all know that she's having these issues.
She claims she has health issues from the spring?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Breathing kinds of problems.
Well, they do, they do tell people to go inside
Oh, yeah.
and close windows and doors for a reason,
Right.
right?
Well, unfortunately, we've had a few deaths from mosquito-borne diseases.
Yeah, well,
It's
Pick your poison.
Just a few.
nature.
Go nature.
Nature will get us in the end.
yes, mosquitoes.
Or people who, do dumb things.
Mosquitoes are apex predators. Somebody are the apex predator of humans. Somebody has just written a book about this. That mosquito-borne diseases have taken out more human beings over the course of history than any other cause of death.
Wow.
Yeah,
Those are-
interesting. All right, so that information has been passed on. I had a very good meeting with Anne and Nick Rossi from Mass Audubon at Fish and Wildlife. I had never been to Fish and Wildlife. It was really nice to be in that office, and we feel like we can all work together on this project, which is fantastic. AJCR is maybe the next thing I get to after we get the bylaw squared away. The new gas station, they've spread the loam this week. Beautiful looking material, a very nice thick layer.
I haven't driven by that. Is that nearing completion?
It is.
It's getting close.
It's really fast.
Yeah,
nice.
the paving's done, the granite's in, the canopy is in.
And the building looks really nice. They did a good job.
Yeah,
It's very
Yep, it's been
well
a
done.
super tidy, efficient, yeah, so that's good. I was lucky enough to actually get Mike Lottie on the telephone. He said, I know what you're calling about. And I ran out of time today, but I'm intending to send him the pictures of that brook upstream, downstream from the culvert. I said, you just won't even believe what this brook is doing. And so he said, well, thinking outside the box, he's going to talk to his wetlands guys and see if there's any combination of plants that would actually survive in those conditions. He said, or maybe we'll just give you the money and you can buy some plants. He said, I'm just thinking outside the box. He said he's not trying to avoid this.
What would we do with the money?
I don't know what we do with the money. We have a lot of people thinking outside a lot of
Trees down the
boxes.
street.
Yeah.
Oh, a nice hillside.
Yeah. So that was good. He's anxious to see the photographs. And I didn't want to put all the plans out at the beginning of the meeting, but we have more plans. This is 2 new notices of intent, one for Hibiscus Lane and one for Wright Road.
You know that
We're on
lot,
that road.
you know that,
Oh,
that lot right next to that stream?
the third house in that
Yeah.
group?
Potential
Yep.
third house next,
Yep.
all in the buffer zone.
Are you
Yep.
kidding me?
No.
There's a third lot in
Yeah.
there?
Well, there's an attempt to put a third lot in there. We'll have to look at it.
That's on a
like
very
stilts.
steep slope.
Well, would you like to look at the plans?
Yes.
We'll take
This is
them
the
home and
notice
look
of
at them.
intent and the plan, so. Take one and pass them around.
Is this yours?
Yes.
And then,
I know.
and then the other one, is hibiscus. Very close to the Turtle Gate. Nope. Just get your hands off my copy. Mushrooms. That's all I got.
Okay. Committee updates, CPC?
Nothing particularly new.
Is there a new stormwater person?
No.
How much time did you spend in those meetings?
I don't think I was invited to any meetings.
I think that's because they haven't had any. Great.
Member updates, Mark? John? Barney?
No.
Jess?
No. George?
No. Elizabeth Swift?
Motion to commence the meeting.
What?
End the meeting, sorry.
It was so much fun, we should do it
I
again.
know, really, let's,
In 2 weeks, I'm free. Okay.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, good night.